subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
And an extremely mellow taste, as if the strong vitality is still in this soup. Belch, just a bowl of noodle soup. The nutrients contained in it are enough to make a big eater like Bahala burp. In some ways, it has a similar effect to senza beans. Where are you going next? After eating and drinking, the few people started talking about the eternal topic again. If it's convenient for you, I don't mind accompanying you for a while. After putting the gem away, Basiji looked generous. You don't have to worry about this. Molek declined her offer. In fact, I have almost finished all the places I should visit outside during this period of time. I have also seen almost everything. Even some blind boxes were obtained by checking in at Whale Island. The Zoldyck and Kukula Mountain is not a good place for the time being. If you go to Greed Island, you will be directly eliminated by Leja if you go ashore from the outside world. If you play games, you will need tens of billions of genie to buy a game console. It is better to wait for the rich man Butra to recruit players. There are no ants in the NGL autonomous country. It is just a small country with no sense of existence. Molek can go there alone and pass the level directly, so it seems that this trip is about to end. But before that, I have another place to go. He looked at Bahara. Thank you for your cooking along the way, Bahara, but as the saying goes in my hometown, all good things must come to an end. So is it time to say goodbye? Bahala had expected this. Everyone in this world has their own things to do. He had known that this day would come, so he did not seem too sad, just a little disappointed and regretful. It was a pity that he could not be with Molek again and learn more about the cuisine of his hometown. During the days of traveling with Molek, he gained a lot. If he really wanted to thank him, he should thank Molek. Where are you going? Seeing that Molek had said goodbye to Bahala, Basiji was really curious. Go to where I came from. Molek looked into the distance, as if he had crossed over space and light and shadow, and returned to the place where he had traveled through time and space and landed in this world. Meteor Street, which was regarded as a landfill for garbage and waste, was an abandoned place. Anything discarded in this world will be accepted by the residents here. Molek came to this world and landed here because of this characteristic. When he walked out of here, he still remembered that he was just a small scum with a telekinesis ability of 5. And now, when Molek returned here alone again player, Molek age, 17 mind power, infinite surprise blind box department, trait department / concrete department skills, basic 4 elements, entanglement, absolute, refining, release, Kamesenryu martial arts, Shikigami control, sharp hook rolling punch, Kido Mitsumesa's fertility items, collector, Rui stick, universal capsule set, imperial tool, 1000 change crosstail, paralysis potion strength assessment. 100 plus when he left Meteor City, his game panel was empty, with nothing except the 4 basic elements of ability. Now, after more than a year away, he has returned and has filled it with many fancy skills and items. Molek decisively skipped the skill Mitsumesa Kido's fertility, without even taking a second look at it. This skill was opened from the blue blind box when he first met Jinfulis in the town of Balalil. Molek has always been too shy to talk about this ability. If he hadn't taken stock after returning here, Molek would not have paid attention to this ability. He is still young and had a lot of good years waiting for him to take risks. He will not be bound by such a skill, and he almost knows why such a skill was opened from Jinfulis blind box. Got a medium blind box. Do you want to open it? Successfully unlocked, obtained, Kido Mitsumesa's fertility. Source world, Saint Seiya, Kido Mitsumesa, the adopted grandfather of Athena Kido Saori, is the president and founder of the largest Garado group in Asia. At that time, the Gemini Gold Saint Saga rebelled, secretly murdered Poke Cheyenne, and attempted to kill Athena, who was born once every 200 years. Sagittarius Iolos saw through Saga's trick and rescued Athena. He entrusted Athena and the Sagittarius gold cloth to Kido Mitsumesa, the founder of the Garado group, the richest man in Asia who was traveling in Europe. Kido Mitsumesa adopted Athena and named her Kido Saori. After that, he decided to train the teenagers to become saints to protect Athena and sent them to various training grounds for training. And those so-called teenagers all came from his 100 sons. That's right, his 100 illegitimate children. Being able to give birth to more than 100 children, such fertility can be called strange. It just so happens that Mitsumasa Kido is the richest man in Asia and the founder of the Garado Group. Kinfulus also has power and wealth at the level of a president of a country. Mitsumasa Kido is also an adventurer. When he was exploring the Himalayas with Tatsumi and others, he met Saori and Iolos, who were still babies, in a cave. It just so happens that Kinfulus is also an excellent hunter, a 2-star ruins hunter. Mitsumasa Kido trained his children to become Saint Seiya, and Kinfulus also trained his son Gon. The difference between the two may be that the purpose of training children is different. One is to protect Athena, and the other is simply to let Gon walk on the path he once walked. And as far as children are concerned, Mitsumasa Kido actually gave birth to them. Kinfulus just took Gon, who is still a baby, back to Whale Island. Who knows if there is a mother? On the Greed Island, there is a strange item called the pregnancy stone. Carry this 3-kilogram stone with you for a month. After 1 week, no matter the gender, you will definitely get pregnant. It is divided into 2 types, male and female stones. It depends on which gender you like. To read the novel, go to Falun Novel Network. It is precisely because Mitsumasa Kido and Jinfulix have similarities in common that the biggest difference is in children. So this box is specially opened to have such an ability. It always feels a bit unserious. Shaking his head, Molek walked to the entrance of Meteor Street and looked at the familiar environment in the distance. After leaving some distracting thoughts behind, he once again stepped into this former land alone. At the same time, at another entrance of Meteor Street, it's been a long time since you came back, right? In the midst of the dust storm, a few shadowy figures slowly emerged. The last time you came back, did you invite Shouty to join the group? That's you, Franklin, right? I can't even remember the last time I came back. After all, this is where our painful memories are. Oh, I wish I could have more memories like this. 1 big, 1 medium, and 1 small. 3 figures appeared in the wind and sand one after another. By the way, where is Finks? Aren't you always working with him, Phaeton? A heavy and steady voice sounded first. I heard that there was a relic nearby, which seemed to be the tomb of a famous pharaoh in history. After hearing this, Finks ran over without even saying hello. You know, I'm not interested in relics at all. A muffled voice came from under the cloak of the low figure. He and Finks usually acted and thought the same, but he was never interested in this matter. Pharaoh? No wonder Finks abandoned you and ran over. I remember that he seemed to like those weird clothes the most. Oh, I prefer to rob things from the dead than to rob things from the living. Is this why you snatched the flower from someone else's hand? The cold voice next to him interrupted. When the guy was saying, I love you, he was still texting other girls on his phone. I just stole his flowers, not his phone, which is good. You might as well grab his phone, so he doesn't have to have his throat chopped off. What's the use of the throat when what you say is so unpleasant? By the way, Maki, in the past when contacting Meteor Street, it was always the president who came forward or I came here. Why did you suddenly want to come along? Didn't Phaeton suddenly want to follow? I just happened to be nearby and hadn't been here for a long time, so I thought I'd come and take a look. You just happened to be abandoned by Finks and had nowhere to go, so you followed him here, right? Franklin, if you can't speak, I can help you solve it. By the way, Maki, you haven't mentioned yourself yet? Me? The pink-purple hair tip slightly raised her head and gazed into the distance with eyes as calm as water. Suddenly, I miss Sarasa. In the garbage-filled Meteor Street, there are a bunch of dilapidated houses that are particularly conspicuous in the garbage. The people of Meteor Street live on garbage and live with garbage. Molek stood at the highest point of a garbage dump, looking down at the scene in front of him. A group of ragged children seemed to have found some great treasure in a garbage dump and were playing there. At this time, a tall and burly child appeared next to him. This seemed to be his territory, and he was shouting something to the other children. Just like with Jean, Kuroka, Franklin, and Shaka back then, recalling the comic scenes in his mind, Molek couldn't help but find it interesting. When they were young, Franklin and the Knight, led by Kororo, often went to Wajean's territory to collect money. From time to time, they would find some videotape treasures from the garbage dump here. Even if some of the videotapes were in a language they couldn't understand, they carefully protected and collected them. They were still looking forward to the content in the videotapes, which were cartoons and action movies that they could find interesting just by watching them, even if they didn't understand them. However, they got more videotapes of foreign language lectures. Yeah, serious. Every time at this time, the knight with missing teeth and curly hair happily said, "This feeling of not being able to understand and having to guess the plot is the most interesting. It would be even better if they could avoid being discovered by Wajean." And every time he said this, it was as if a switch was triggered. The dark-skinned, curly-haired Wajean, Nono Zhao, would bring young Maki, who was squatting next to him like a wild child with a stick, to threaten and intimidate Kororo and the others. "I will make you live a life worse than death, and then kill you 10 times in a row." The tall kid below crossed his arms and shouted a threat similar to that of Wajean at that time. Then he was met with merciless ridicule from the knight, and then he was taught a lesson. Only Franklin, who was equally huge, fought with Wajean fist to fist, so Kororo quickly evacuated with a harvest and the knockdown knight. That guy Wajean was really merciless. When he attacked, Franklin walked toward the Elder Hall in the center of Meteor Street. Looking at the garbage dump in the distance, he seemed to be reminded of the past, and his cheeks began to ache slightly. "I have reason to suspect that my ears are so big because I was chased away by Wajean at that time." As gloomy as Frankenstein, he still had the leisure to tell a cold joke. Although it was not funny at all at that time, Finks and Phaeton came to help, right? Maki turned his gaze to Phaeton, who was standing next to him with a low head, and said calmly, "The clothes they were wearing were tattered, but they still drove a motorcycle to pick them up. But I remember that even the motorcycle was a piece of broken scrap metal that was about to be scrapped, which fits the image of the two of you at that time. I have to correct something here. We're not here to pick them up," Phaeton said in a dull voice. "We just happened to pass by and happened to see that the captain seemed to be holding something valuable. So it goes smoothly. You just happen to be a robber, right?" Franklin said, with a smile on his scarred, terrifying face. "I still remember that Fink said that you're all very kind, but his face had an extremely ferocious expression. And you, Phaeton, you had an afro and a baseball bat behind your neck, as if you were ready to beat anyone who disobeyed you." Hearing this, Phaeton clenched the umbrella sword under his cloak sleeves and said, "I don't like to use the bat now." Post views 529. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 082. The Past and Memories. The so-called Brigade Kuroro Dubbing Video Collection. 082 Past and Memories. The so-called Brigade Kuroro Dubbing Video Collection. Is it because it was a failed robbery? Maki said something rather heartbreaking in a calm tone. "I remember that the videotapes that the team leader gave you were some useless foreign language lectures that he had found before. The new videotapes had been hidden by him a long time ago." That was all led by Finks. His eyes were a little vague. To be honest, they were all children at that time. So how could they have so many ideas? They all followed with Wajean to learn and see who was more ruthless to survive in Meteor Street. Only Kororo had relied on his own intelligence and wisdom at that time to have a new way of standing. The knight and Franklin were willing to fight for Kororo and cover his back against Wajean. Meteor Street at that time was much more dangerous than it is now. Many lawless people sneaked into the living circle inside Meteor Street, and many children were abducted. People born in Meteor Street have no proof of social origin. Some people misinterpreted this point and believed that not having a social identity meant not being a human. So no matter what they did, they would not be convicted. These people hunted the residents of Meteor Street until Meteor Street and the gangs joined forces to provide population to the gangs. They were protected and avoided the sacrifice of hundreds of people every year. Among the group of people who sacrificed, 70% were children under the age of 15. So now, when the residents of Meteor Street see me dressed in black, they won't have too much fear and disgust, right? Molek walked on the street and observed the eyes of the residents and children passing by one. There was curiosity, alienation, and yearning in their eyes. There are still many people here who are yearning for the outside world. They want to be dressed as neatly and brightly as Molek. Passing through this block where all kinds of residents live, you will come to a completely different scenery from the outside. In sharp contrast to the garbage dump is the extremely luxurious cathedral. It is obviously in an illegal area like Meteor Street, but there is such a magnificent building, and the people coming and going are also people with gorgeous, clean, and elegant clothes. Even some simple, poor people who come here to pray also dress themselves neatly and decently. Compared with the outside world, it is simply two different scenery, two pictures. Even in an environment like Meteor Street, there are still class distinctions and differences between the upper and lower classes. In the cathedral, Molek listened to the old priest, Mr. Lizzer, who was very old and had white hair and beard, leading the believers in prayer. After listening for a while, he left. By the way, he took away a white blind box here. 743 well. This is where Kororo often came when he was a child. Father Lizzer admired Kororo very much in those days. When Kororo came to study almost every day, Father Lizzer not only did not expel him, but taught him very carefully. He even lent him the projection room in the church so that he could play the videotapes he found and learn more about the outside world. Others hated Father Lizzer's preaching and would not come here at all. Only Kororo would come. When a young Paknota with a short haircut heard that Kororo would come, she also came to accompany him. The relationship between the two was already very deep at that time. Kororo learned the common language of the outside world and two other foreign languages in this small room. When Father Lizzer learned about this, he recommended Kororo to the elders of Meteor Street. He said that this child loves to study and is very dedicated to learning, and he will definitely have a bright future. His creativity often surprises me, and I hope to call him to the elders' meeting to listen to his ideas. It is precisely because of the elders of Meteor Street that Father Lizzer can own such a luxurious church. While we were still picking up the garbage, the leader had already registered with the elders. Walking past the garbage dump and looking at the huge and luxurious church hall in the distance, Franklin was also inspired. I heard from an elder who I often contacted that there were many problems in Meteor Street at that time. If the leader could be the opportunity to solve these problems, let him go there. And then we have the contact and cooperation we have now. Maki nodded gently. She didn't know much about the situation at that time, and later she was not interested in paying too much attention to it. It was only this time with Franklin that she learned some things she didn't know before. As for later, she not only knew it, but also participated in it. At that time, she acted together with Wogan. Later, the videotape that Kororo found in Wogan's territory was the world-famous animation Sweeper. But there was only audio and video without dubbing, so Kororo asked Paknata to call a lot of people to help with dubbing and formed a small dubbing team. Later, in the religious lecture in the church hall, Kororo invited many children to watch cartoons. For the children of Meteor Street at that time, watching cartoons was something they dared not even think about. Countless children flocked to the showroom in the church lobby, including the combination of Wogan and Maki, Nobunaga, Phaeton, and Finks. At that time, almost all the veteran members of the brigade were on the scene, DACT. At that time, Meteor Street had no voice actors and no TV programs of its own. It was really rare for the children of Meteor Street to be able to see this kind of cartoon that was popular all over the world. All the children could understand it and loved to watch it. Everyone watched it with relish and was very happy, until the projector broke down and the picture disappeared. Kororo went on stage to perform in person to ease everyone's mood while waiting for repairs. And in order to liven up the atmosphere, he puffed up his cheeks and pretended to be fat, making everyone present laugh. When the projector was repaired, the picture reappeared, but the original sound was gone. So Kororo stood up again and started dubbing the characters in the anime with his friends. The dubbing with a realistic figure made the audience on the scene excited. The timid children were scared to tears by Kororo's accent. So the blind box that was opened in the church is this. At the tip of Molek's finger, a black videotape was spinning. Received a regular blind box. Do you want to open it? Open successfully. Get Kororo dubbing video collection. This video contains Kuroro's dubbing for anime when he was young, as well as his words to liven up the atmosphere, especially Kuroro's elegant and evil professional villain dubbing. There are also his facial expressions in the comics. It was at that moment that Yujin, Nabinaga, Phaeton, and Finks were shocked. They were willing to follow Kuroro and participate in the dubbing work. Even Yujin admired Kuroro's courage to perform in front of so many people on the stage. Everyone is from Meteor City, and they get along well without any grudges. So, everyone gave this dubbing team a name called Travel Group. It is a traveling theater troupe, not the Phantom Troupe. At that time, Yujin's dream was to act with Kuroro and travel around the world to be the world's #1 villain. And why did it become Phantom Troupe later? Molek walked through streets that were either clean and tidy or dilapidated, and soon saw a row of cemeteries. When the dubbing troupe was first established, in addition to the current veterans of the Phantom Troupe, there were two more people. One was called Shira, and the other was called Sarasa. They were both found by Packnoda and were the first girls to dub the videotapes. Sarasa was very lively. After the first multi-person movie viewing event, Wogan found Kuroro. Obviously, he admired Kuroro's performance in his heart, but he couldn't say it out of face. It was Sarasa who dubbed Wogan attentively and expressed his feelings, which made Wogan and Kuroro officially become friends. After Wogan and others joined, the dubbing troupe was also booming. But after a long time, there were naturally not enough videotapes suitable for dubbing. When Sarasa went out alone to find suitable videotapes, she was met by the criminals who entered the inner circle of Meteor Street. Then when everyone finally found Sarasa, they saw her in a big cloth bag, hanging on a big tree. It was Wajin who climbed up and cut the rope of the cloth bag, and Kuroro caught it below. When Kuroro opened the mouth of the cloth bag tremblingly, what came into view was Sarasa's dismembered body. This had an extremely huge impact on the young Kuroro. The expression on his face when he saw the dismembered body of his former friend was the same as Xiaoji's expression when he saw Kate fall. In particular, on Sarasa's head, there was a piece of paper with words left by the perpetrator, as if to show off. Even if Wajin pulled Kuroro's collar hard and asked him to tell what happened and what was written on the paper, Kuroro just shed tears and said, "I will never tell you even if I die." It was after that day that Kuroro's philosophy changed. In order to prevent the same tragedy from happening again on Meteor Street, these children can choose their own lives. 3 years later, I will overthrow the status quo here and kill many people. Make these people pay for killing Sarasa. Make them apologize for Sarasa's death. I will live the rest of my life as a bad guy in this world. And I will make those bad guys fear me, so as to protect those people in Meteor City who also have no identity. This was the cry that Kuroro made in front of everyone in the dubbing troupe. In the end, almost everyone was willing to support him and accompany him. Only Shira, who joined the troupe with Sarasa at that time, left sadly with her hunter book. She did not agree with Kuroro's ideas, and like Kuroro, she could understand the words left by the perpetrator. Later, both parties had different destinies. The Phantom Troupe was officially established, and Kuroro recommended Wogan as the leader at that time. However, Wogan directly rejected it and personally pushed Kuroro to the position of leader. As for Shira, she walked out of Meteor City with her hunter book and began to travel in the outside world, until when she was exploring a forest, she collapsed due to thirst. Then she was rescued by two children wearing distinctive ethnic costumes. After being rescued, Shira gave them an adventure biography with hunters as the protagonist as a thank you. After agreeing not to tell anyone, she thanked the two again and left a letter. The two children were named Kurapika and Pyro. For Kurapika, who had never walked out of the forest, this biography opened the door to a new world for him from then on. Kurapika yearned for the outside world. But the Korda tribe's rule that you cannot leave the forest until you become an adult stopped him. So, Kurapika began a long war of words with the elder grandfather. After Kurapika's constant persuasion, the elders finally gave in. They allowed him to take 3 tests before he could go out. The price was, if you fail, never mention going outside again. With the knowledge he learned by himself and his extraordinary wisdom, Kurapika easily passed the first and second tests of mastering the common language and understanding the common sense of the outside world. The final test content is self-restraint. Kurapika and his good friend Pyro will go out to purchase daily necessities within 24 hours without red eyes and come back from the outside world. But it was in this regard that an accident happened. Pyro is a very good friend of Kurapika. When he was a child, he tried to save Kurapika, who was about to fall off a cliff. But as a result, both of them fell off the cliff. It may be because of the bad posture of the fall, Kurapika was unharmed, but Pyro was disabled. And as time went by, especially the eyesight was getting worse. In order to be able to find a good doctor who could treat Pyro, this was also one of the reasons why Kurapika was in a hurry to go out. But the more he valued Pyro, the more problems he had. The elders sent gangsters from the outside world to deliberately make trouble to bully Pyro, which successfully angered Kurapika and made him evoke the fiery red eyes and expose them to everyone's vision. However, due to Pyro's, Luo changed the eye drops used for the test, and when Kurapika returned to the village, the red eyes had disappeared. As a result, he was allowed to go out indefinitely and went out to treat Pyro. But 6 weeks after Kurapika left, the TV news reported the genocide of the Karuta tribe. The finder was a woman who got lost in the forest. A total of 128 villagers were killed. From the current state of the victims, it was found that each family member was placed in a sitting position facing each other. The body was pierced by a sharp weapon, and the head was chopped off while the victim was still alive. The eyeballs of all purebred Karuta people were dug out. Although there were outsiders who married into the Karuta tribe, the eyeballs of these people were retained. But they obviously had more wounds on their bodies than the Karuta people. It was obvious that the murderer used this method to stimulate the Karuta people. When they were most angry and their eyes were the reddest, their eyeballs were taken away. And next to the village was the murderer's message, which read, "We don't reject everything, but don't try to take anything away from us." This is the words left by the Phantom Troop. No matter what their purpose was at the time, killing and exterminating the entire clan is an indisputable fact. Molek walked along the border of the tombstones, and when Kurapika faced Uzumaki, Uzumaki himself said that it was really a big project. "Although I sympathize with your death, there are many other innocent people who died at the hands of the Phantom Troop." He identified and found a tombstone. It is undeniable that they are extremely popular and do not need to be whitewashed through these memories. But it does not prevent them from being wiped out in the end, as we all know, according to the usual nature of the Japanese comics industry, as long as the character begins to recall. It is basically time for the curtain to fall. Even the old thief Togashi is no exception in this regard, and he has even done it many times throughout The Hunter when the Phantom Troop began to fall into memories on the Black Whale heading to the Dark Continent. Their ending was implicitly foreshadowed. There are not many places in Meteor City that can be remembered, and the tombstone of Sarasa is considered a check-in point. However, besides herself, it seemed that there were other people who wanted to come and see her. This place was not ordinarily lively. Sensing something, Molek looked towards the distance. Among the tombstones scattered all over the ground, there were figures slowly coming towards this side. And among these figures, there was a familiar aura that made him feel today's update is here. I really have no more manuscripts left, so I'm working hard to finish the manuscript. Post views 492. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 083. Reunion with Maki. Face to face with the Phantom Troop. Everyone back, then 083 reunion with Maki. Face to face with the Phantom Troop. Everyone back, then Maki, you rarely come back. Don't you plan to go see Miss Lien Ko? Near the cemetery. Franklin seemed to remember something and asked casually. No, I don't know her anything anymore. The breeze blew Maki's hair, and her eyes, which even Lien Ko was jealous of, were calm and peaceful. Otherwise, she would want to eat my eyes again. When they found Sarasa's body, they wanted to bury her. But the body was too broken, so the priest of the church asked a lady with repair ability to help. Sarasa was reassembled to become as complete and beautiful as before. The mysterious lady was called Lien Ko. When everyone was holding a funeral for Sarasa, Maki, who was curious about the splicing and suturing technology, found Miss Lien Ko. Miss Lien didn't want to pay attention to Maki until Maki said that there was aura wrapped around her body. This sentence also made her understand that this little girl was talented and could see the aura on her body at a young age. It was also at that moment that Lien Ku thought Maki's eyes were very beautiful, so beautiful that she wanted to eat it. Afterwards, Lien Ku left a token for Maki. Take the last bus and tell the driver to go to Lucin Valley. Then show this, and you can come to my place for free. Maki learned her telepathic ability, telepathic suture, from her there. As for Ms. Lianka, whose figure, dress, and neurotic behavior are very similar to Killua's mother, Kikyu, the mistress of a Zoldyck family, she is often speculated to be Kikyu herself. But in fact, when Ms. Lianka first appeared, Killua's mother had already given birth to his second brother, Mickey, and Mickey was already 1 year old. At that time, Kikyu could not go out at all, let alone take orders to do business, let alone go to Lucin Valley. Moreover, the personalities of the two are also different, and it is basically impossible for them to be the same person. Maki, after completing her studies, went out with the brigade to explore, which can be regarded as a settlement with that place. Maybe Maki's character of loving money was developed in this place. We'll be there soon. The three of them have walked this road many times, especially Franklin. Whenever he returns to Meteor Street, he will come to Sarasa's grave and tell her about the recent development of the brigade. For example, where Wogan caused a big fuss again, and the original 4 members were replaced by Hisoka with unknown purposes. They also added a new member, number 8 Shouty, and so on. Every time he came, Franklin brought intelligence and news, as well as the outside world that Sarasa had never seen. This time, Maki came and brought a full set of Cleanup Warriors videotapes. This was the first animation work in which Kororo and Sarasa dubbed the children of Meteor Street, and it was also the beginning of their reunion. Sarasa was looking for new videotapes that year and encountered an accident. "Did you bring anything, Phaeton?" No, Phaeton, who had nothing but his umbrella and sword, said as a matter of course. When Sarasa was buried, I gave her the most precious thing. If I want something now, I will just grab it. Not only Phaeton, but also Kororo, Wajin, Franklin, and others. All buried their most precious things with Sarasa as burial objects. And now, these people no longer have any precious items on them. We are thieves, aren't we? Phaeton put his hands in his pockets. Although he was not tall, he followed the two of them closely. If you want something, why not just go and get it? You call him a thief, but what he did is actually robbery, right? Franklin was speechless. You really have retained the same behavior you and Finks had when you were in Meteor Street. Actually, Phaeton, you still have something you like. Maki next to him interjected. Don't you carry your book, The Taste of Sweets and Pain, with you? That's just the regular version, Phaeton emphasized. I don't have the collector's edition. If Sarasa wants to see it, I can take it to tell her about it. He paused and added, at night. Franklin shook his head. I thought you were going to say burn it for her. There is no such custom in my hometown. Phaeton said something in his hometown language that the two of them couldn't understand. It's a waste to burn beautiful things. Walking into the cemetery, there was basically no wind blowing in, and the voice under Phaeton's cloak became clearer and clearer. Just like the ring that Maki has earned over the years, I think it would be better to spend the money on her instead of giving it to Sarasa. What do you think, Maki? Phaeton asked casually, but did not get the answer he expected. Maki. He looked up, but found that Maki's eyes were fixed on the front. Oh, is there anyone else here? Following Maki's gaze, Phaeton naturally found the figure standing in front of the tombstone. Besides us, who else would come here? The temperature in his narrow eyes began to drop, and the body under the cloak began to enter a formal state. Wearing a suit? Is he a gangster? Franklin's hands naturally drooped, ready to let go of his fingers at any moment. Ah, he is a member of a gang called the Nasra family. Even from a distance, Maggie could recognize the man who left a deep impression on her that night. A member of the gang who came to the mausoleum here. Was he from Meteor Street before and joined the gang? Franklin thought of the most likely answer and then asked without turning his head, Do you know him? Maki. Well, we had a deal in the Sky Arena before. Maggie nodded. If the other party could appear here, then what he said before, that he was born in Meteor Street, was also credible. No matter who he is, and he is standing in front of Sarasa's tomb, We just need to ask him clearly. Feeton's footsteps did not stop. Of course, if he doesn't cooperate, I also have a way to make him speak. When Franklin and the other two were walking towards this side, Molek naturally noticed them. What a coincidence. He didn't expect that he would meet the three members of the Phantom Troop while strolling around Meteor Street. Number 2 Feeton Bodo and number 7 Franklin Bordeaux. Except for Maki, the appearance characteristics of the other two are really obvious. Short stature, pale skin, thin eyebrows and eyes, with short dark blue hair combed into a middle part. Wearing a black leather windbreaker of the same color as his hair and wearing black leather short boots on his feet is number 2 Feeton. In the brigade, he is usually responsible for frontal combat and interrogating hostages. The other has short hair, dark skin, long earlobes, a strong and sturdy figure, many accessories and several scars on his face, and looks like Frankenstein. It is number 7 Franklin. He has a calm personality and is loyal. He gives people the feeling of an elder in the group. He is also an invisible peacemaker. Of course, this is secondary. The main thing is to be around the two. There's also a blue blind box that exudes the same brilliance as that of Maki that night. As the most popular and charming villains in the entire Hunter anime, the appearance of the two deserves such a blind box. Hey, long time no see, Maki. Molek raised his hand and took the initiative to say hello. If possible, I really don't want to see you again. After Maki approached, she did not hide her defensive and vigilant behavior at all. I told you before that we will meet again one day. Molek smiled nonchalantly. Look, now it proves that my feeling at that time was not wrong. And it also proves that we are very compatible. He looked at the two companions beside him and asked knowingly, "Are these two your friends? You even know the knights, so why shouldn't you know them?" Maki replied directly, "Now that you put it like that, I understand." Molek's smile remained normal. Feeton and Franklin, right? He nodded at the two and introduced himself. "Molek, do you know us?" Feeton asked in a low voice. "Well, the Phantom Troop's number 2 and number 7 members, and they are all veterans of the troop." Molek put down his raised hand and put away the blue blind box that no one could see. To read the exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. When they were young, Franklin had fought with Wajin, and Feeton, who often rode a motorcycle with Fink on Meteor Street with a baseball bat, robbed the streets. At that time, you were all the talk of the town. I even know this kind of thing. Feeton narrowed his eyes. It seems that you're also from Meteor City, but that's not right either. He looked Molek up and down, pausing for a moment, especially on his face. Your age doesn't match. They did this 15 years ago, and judging from the age that Molek showed, he should have been just a baby at that time. Right? What? After so many years of working outside, do you still judge a person's true age by their appearance? Molek looked at him in surprise. Or have you never encountered similar experiences before? Feeton narrowed his eyes and said little, but the aura that gradually gathered on his body represented his attitude. What are you doing here? Franklin stepped forward as a peacemaker, standing in front of this tombstone. Whatever you are here for, I am here for the same reason. Molek took one look at them and knew what they were here for. After all, the first anime I watched back then, Cleaning Warriors, also had Sarasa's voice, so I came here to see her. Molek said without changing his expression. Did you go to see it then? Maki suddenly asked. Yes, I saw it, in the big cinema in the church. Molek nodded seriously. He did see it, but it was a cartoon. I still remember that it was Sarasa who personally handed me the food. There seemed to be a flash of nostalgia in his eyes. When the projector broke down during the show, I was eating food while waiting for the animation to start. He smiled at the three of them and said, "That might be the most delicious food, I think." The three of them fell silent after hearing that. Feeton's aura was slightly reduced. He clearly remembered that their leader Kororo was also distributing food with Sarasa. He and Finks also wanted to watch cartoons at that time, so they ran over and planned to invite Kororo, who had just finished his business with Wogan, to play football together. As a result, Sarasa handed over the food and asked Finks to distribute it with her. Finks, who was still very gentle at that time, had no reason to refuse. Instead, he took it and distributed it with embarrassment. If I remember correctly, Sarasa was paired with the Orange Warrior in the anime, which was a very lively character. He looked at the three people in front of him and named them one by one. Judging from the sounds you made just now, Phaeton should be paired with the Yellow Warrior, right? Franklin is the Dark Lord. As for Maki, Molek pretended to be in deep thought and said, "To be honest, I didn't hear it. Whether it was the last time we met in the Sky Arena, or this time we met again, your voice is obviously very special, and I remember it very well, but I feel like I have never heard your dubbing before. That's because I didn't participate in the dubbing work." Maggie lowered her eyelids and said, softly zero, when everyone had found their own voice acting roles. Franklin and Wajin wanted to ask Maki to come over, but they were both rejected by Maki. The reason was that she didn't want to voice the role of the princess, even though everyone admired her. If she had to voice the role, she would choose the villain. She emphasized the important things 3 times at that time. Yes, I remember that there was only one female villain at that time. Franklin also suddenly smiled and closed his eyes slightly. The Dark Queen is the twin sister of the Purple Warrior, who was voiced by Sheila at the time. Memories are always sad, even for murderers. What's more, the people who dubbed the original voice have buried their dead and left. What's left is no longer the same dream as before. It seems that you are also one of the audience at the scene. Phaeton's tone slowed down a bit. Molek admitted it, as if it was exactly like this at that time. I was sitting behind Nabinaga. At that time, Nabinaga didn't have much contact with other people. Phaeton was with Finks, and Maki was with Wajin. He was alone, with long hair, looking like a melancholy boy. When the projector broke down and the picture was interrupted, he didn't make a noise, but crossed his legs and waited quietly for the follow-up. He was taking the literary route at that time, but even so, he still couldn't resist the temptation. After the screening, he volunteered to fight for the role of dubbing the Green Warrior. Unfortunately, I was a step late, or maybe it was my personality at the time. I watched you guys decide on your roles in the forest, but I didn't step forward to join in. Molek's tone seemed full of regret. I didn't miss any of the scenes you dubbed afterwards, until his voice became low from this moment on. It starts from the time Kororo said he couldn't find the Orange Warrior. Molek looked at the tombstone again. Everyone in the theater went to look for Sarasa, and I followed them. And I think if it were you, you would definitely be able to find it. It was that feeling that made me follow you. Is it intuition again? Maki muttered to herself. Molek's words brought back a very bad memory deep in her mind that she didn't want to recall. The scene in the rain where she was holding the bag containing Sarasa, crying and saying sorry all the time. So you were there at the time, right? Phaeton asked calmly. It should be said that it is in the back, in the corner that you can't see. Molek took out the videotape and put on Sarah. In front of the tomb. I want to find the murderer in my own way. Later I heard that you founded the Phantom Troop, which is quite famous. What is that? Franklin said in a deep voice. They were all very sensitive about the videotape, because according to Kororo, the murderer who killed Sarasa at that time filmed the process of dismembering Sarasa and stored it in the form of a videotape. Just take it back and listen to it, and you will know. I have to go out for something today, so the other chapter is late. Please forgive me. Post views. 471, starred opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 084. The Navy 6 styles, in the blind box. I surrounded all of you guys by myself. 084, Navy 6 styles, in the blind box. I surrounded all of you guys by myself. Molek waved his hand gently, and the dust on the tombstone was much clearer. I think Sarasa is still happy to share this fun video with you. If she were still alive, I think she would be looking forward to seeing your reactions. Of course, a friendly reminder, Molek raised his head and smiled at the 3 of them again. You guys should just listen to this videotape in private. Don't bring it to Kororo. Well, that's it. After showing the 3 people a wave of nostalgia, Molek waved his hand and said with a smile, if we are destined to meet again in the future, let's meet again. After saying that, he left without waiting for the 3 people's reaction, until his figure disappeared from the 3 people's sight. The 3 people at the scene still did not move. What do you think? Franklin, the calmest elder brother, spoke first. Do you think what he said is true or false? He knows so much about us, And there are many inside stories that only people back then can know. Phaeton's fox eyes were full of distrust. Although there is nothing wrong with what he said in terms of logic and situation, there are too many unknown telepathic abilities in this world. What if he used his ability to learn about our past? What was the purpose of his words? Franklin fell into deep thought and then expressed a rather outrageous opinion. He wouldn't want to join us, would he? After saying this, he himself felt that it was absurd and impossible and kept shaking his head. We don't want outsiders, and we don't have the idea of destroying the world. Phaeton didn't consider this at all. When the brigade was first established, we always thought that as long as we groped forward, we would be able to achieve something. The most important thing is that because of Saras's death, 367 gave up on himself and was full of anger. Maybe that was our driving force at the time. March came over and added. Franklin thought for a while and said, no matter what his purpose was, he didn't do anything to us in the end, right? He thought, if he had any other action, Phaeton's eyes flashed with a cold light. I won't be polite either. If it weren't for the fact that this was Saras's tomb, he wouldn't have said so much nonsense to Molek and would have stepped forward to fight. What about watching anime and watching dubbing performances together? Those are all in the past. Except for occasionally making them recall, nothing else can shake their hearts that have long been dead to this world. Of course, there is also the most important point. I can't quite see through him, Franklin said calmly, no matter his age, his experience, his strength, or even his identity. Phaeton didn't say anything. The biggest reason why he didn't take action just now was because of the many uncertainties about the man named Molek. And for some reason, he seemed to be somewhat similar to the captain in terms of aura well, at least when it was hard to tell whether what he said was true or false. But he still left a clue, didn't he? Maki walked to Saras's tombstone and looked at the videotape on it. He wrapped the string in his hand and hung the videotape up. Just listen and you'll know what's inside. Maki's face was calm. If what the other party said is true, then the sound and image inside should be played for Sarasa to hear. But what if it can be tracked or controlled as soon as it is played? Phaeton has a different opinion. I think this thing is fine. Maki gave a reason that made it hard to refute. Is it your sixth sense again? Well, your intuition is always pretty accurate anyway. Phaeton put his hands back into his pockets, ready at all times. I'll go borrow the player from the elders. Franklin left quickly, and soon he came back with an old player. Click, sizzle. After putting the tape into the player, there was a burst of noise from the machine itself, and then the sound inside came out clearly. Oops, I'm so sorry. I thought it was halftime. So, I want to have a meal. Haha. The slightly childish and funny voice coming from the machine made the three people's faces change. This sound is the three of them looked at each other at the same time, and then they all kept silent. Not sure. Let's listen again. But I got a stomachache, and I've been in the toilet the whole time. Puff. The next second, the sound was like the cheeks puffing up with a mumbling tone. I asked him to pause while I went to the bathroom. So sorry. If that's right, it was the sound. At this moment, the three of them had the corresponding answer in their hearts, but no one said it out loud. No one wanted to interrupt the rhythm of the sound and the words that continued. Where is the story going? Hey, Blue Warrior. Blue Warrior, where are you? He began to imitate the tone of others and Silver again. Really, you should use the nutrients you eat to nourish your brain. Well, let's count down together. 3, 2, 1. The mission continues. Are you ready, little ones? Hearing this, Franklin couldn't help it any longer. He sat down directly and laughed heartily. How bizarre. The face of the Frankenstein showed a rare smile from the heart. I can even hear the captain's dubbing as a child. And it was the content of the first screening. I almost forgot that this had ever happened. Phaeton's body was also relaxed for a rare time, and he joked, now it sounds like the captain's voice is also quite cute. After all, I was a child at that time. I think this sentence matches the Blue Warrior's tone quite well. Really? I still think the leader should play the role of the weirdo. Wajin is a bit more ferocious, but he doesn't have the evil flavor of the leader at all. Franklin and Phaeton started arguing about Kuroro's voice in front of Sarasa's grave. This is indeed a precious gift for them. No, for Sarasa. This is exactly what Sarasa wanted to hear. Looking at the argument between Franklin and Phaeton, Maki's calm gaze gradually softened. Is that what you want to see, Saresa? In her mind, she couldn't help but recall the good old days when they dubbed together in the brigade. And along with that, there was also the figure of the man who had just left. Molek! Maki kept repeating the name. The fact that he was able to produce such a tape was enough to prove that he must have been at the scene. And he also recorded the scene in some way. The novel was taken from the Rala's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Then, I guess I used my telepathic ability to eliminate some of the noise and preserve the most essential parts. That's why this tape seems so novel. Was he really there at that time? Inevitably, Maki began to think about Molek. At the same time, Molek, who had stirred up the inner turmoil of the group, also left Meteor Street. Except for the Presbyterian Church, they had seen everything they should see and visited, and they no longer wanted to stay here. As for Maki and the group, parting is for a better meeting next time, isn't it? Get the medium blind box. Do you want to open it? After leaving Meteor Street, Molek also opened the blue blind boxes next to Featon and Franklin. Successfully opened, obtained, Navy 6 styles, razor, finger gun. Source World, One Piece, Yoho, following the previous Naruto wine. Finally, there is the skill of the hot-blooded mainstream manga, and it is a signature move. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. Morak is in a better mood. It seems that every encounter with Maki always has a good result. The last time Imperial Crosstail was like this time, Navy 6 styles, is also the same. The 6 styles of the Navy are physical techniques that exceed the limits of human physical fitness and are extremely powerful. They are 6 superhuman techniques that the secret organization CP agents of the world government have practiced since childhood. If you learn all of them, you can even fight against devil fruit users. Due to their high practicality, some naval generals also know 1 or 2 of them. The 6 styles are divided into shaving, iron block, paper painting, moon step, storm kick, finger gun shave can be called the rapid movement. In an instant, the ground is stepped on at high speed dozens of times continuously to generate explosive reaction force to move at high speed. From the enemy's perspective, it is as if it has disappeared. Finger gun, a technique that is said to have the power of a gun. Gather all the strength of the body on the index finger and use the hardened finger to release a blow in a flash. The fingertips have the attack power of a bullet and can easily penetrate the human body. These 2 moves just represent the ability characteristics of Featon and Franklin. Featon's speed is one of the best in the Phantom Troop, so shave represents speed. As for Franklin, it goes without saying that his telepathic ability, two-handed machine gun, is simply the most suitable for finger gun. Fortunately, it was not a block of iron that was opened. There is a reason why the saying that masters always die from blocks of iron is true. After Molek had a brief understanding of these 2 techniques, give it a try. He closed his eyes lightly, and the next second swish, Molek's figure suddenly disappeared from a spot. It was as if he had disappeared out of thin air. At the place where he had stood before, there was only a little insignificant dust and smoke, indicating the traces of his standing just now. The periphery of Meteor Street was an endless wilderness of hills. It seemed to separate the outside civilization from the abandoned garbage inside, forming a clear dividing line. Outside the wilderness hills was a jungle that blocked the sun. In the past, this area was an uninhabited area except for garbage trucks and gangs going to Meteor Street. But recently, because a tomb of an ancient kingdom was discovered by a lost explorer, it became unusually lively here. According to history, the ruler of the ancient kingdom was honored as the pharaoh. When buried, they were solemnly buried with the most precious crown and clothes in the entire kingdom. After being excavated, many relic hunters who heard the news were eager to try and take this piece of clothing as their own. However, before this group of relic hunters could use their own tomb-digging skills, a sensational event occurred at the scene. A fierce guy in sportswear and without eyebrows swung his arms and smashed the tomb open. All the pharaoh's burial clothes were taken away. The many relic hunters who heard the news immediately rushed after him. They thought that with so many people surrounding him, they would definitely take down the daring guy. But what they didn't expect was that the guy without eyebrows seemed to be unexpectedly difficult to deal with. Hula, hula, hula. Under a huge and towering tree, a group of relic hunters surrounded a figure below and made strange shouts. "Run again, you bastard! Run again! You can't run anymore. You're blocked by us, huh? If you know what's good for you, hand over the crown and the pharaoh's suit right away." Wait, if I'm reading this correctly, that bastard seems to have put on the pharaoh costume. A bunch of relic hunters surrounded the culprit in anger, denouncing him. But it was just a lot of noise. No one was stupid enough to go up and fight the eyebrowless guy. There were so many relic hunters here, all with the same goal. No one wanted to be the first to stand out and let the last few fishermen take advantage. However, as their voices became louder and louder, "It's so noisy," the eyebrowless, vicious man who was surrounded below suddenly shouted loudly, "I say, you idiots, have you made a mistake?" Wearing the pharaoh's clothes, the king's ferocious eyes full of murderous intent were revealed under his clothes. "I'm not surrounded by you." Crack! He clasped his hands together, making a crisp sound of knuckles cracking. "I have surrounded all of you guys by myself." As soon as these words came out, the whole place suddenly fell silent. Ha 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 ha. What is this guy talking about? What an idiot indeed. No wonder he would wear the burial items of the dead directly on his head. It seems that he is also a person with a confused mind. 0.2. Is he too confident in his own ability? TSK. I was underestimated by this kind of rubbish. Many relic hunters burst into laughter, thinking that the eyebrowless man, who could not see the current situation, clearly was really stupid. However, this also made many relic hunters understand. It turned out that he had a problem with his brain, so his idiotic behavior also made sense. Some people even frowned and felt unhappy, thinking that they were completely underestimated by this kind of rubbish. "I can't stand this bastard being so arrogant." A man wrapped in black cloth let out a sinister low voice. The cloth wrapped around his body, with its own telekinesis, shot towards the surrounded man. He became the first guy to take action here. "Come on." The eyebrowless man did not dodge at all. Instead, he showed a cruel and ferocious smile on his face. At the same time, a towering tree next to him, it was Black Silk Vic Hill, with a purple middle-parted hair and two distinctive tufts of nose hair sticking out from his nostrils. At first glance, he looked like a hunter of a human-faced ape monster standing there. He commented on the guy who was taking action below. A person with the ability to manipulate the black cloth on his body to perform various offensive and defensive measures. His best skill is binding. Once he is tied up with cloth strips, it is very difficult to break free. He was concentrating on his analysis when suddenly a voice of emotion sounded beside him. Is combat commentary becoming popular in the wild now? Just this one sentence made the ape-like hunter's hair stand on end instantly. It was a bad year, so I came back in the evening. But when I was almost home, I had a car accident. No one was hurt. I will go to the center to get the accident responsibility letter tomorrow. I will update this first. Sorry, everyone. Post views. 528. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 085. Various strange telepathic abilities. Killing sprees. Do you know Mr. Gene? 085. Various strange telepathic abilities. Killing sprees. Do you know Mr. Gene? When did you come to me? In just a moment, a layer of deep thoughts instantly wrapped around the hunter who looked like a human-faced ape. At the same time, he immediately turned around, facing the direction where the sound came from. At the same time, a mass of air gathered in his eyes, and he used condensation. The reaction is very good. The young man in black who appeared in the eyes of the ape-like hunter exclaimed, "Who are you?" The ape-like hunter seemed calm on the surface, but asked in a slightly serious tone. "Molek." The young man in black introduced himself. "I'm a bodyguard of a certain family who is traveling." "And you?" The examiner with a human-faced, ape-like appearance remained silent. Knowing each other's names may be one of the prerequisites for the activation of a certain mind ability. He often excavated and repaired ruins, so he was particularly alert to various sudden events. If he was not careful and prepared, he might be entangled and trapped by the traps and strange abilities that suddenly appeared in the ruins and lose his life. He had seen too many such situations. Therefore, he was full of vigilance towards the man named Molek who suddenly appeared in front of him. Don't you want to tell me your name? That's fine. Molek's eyes moved downward again. I know your name is Sats, a relic hunter. Do you know me? Well, I've heard of a relic hunter who looks very similar to the anthropomorphic ape in the Shimile wetlands. Now that I've seen him up close, I think he's right. Sats fell silent again. He felt that this was not a good topic, whether it was his personal feelings or the fact that the other party knew him so well, but he knew nothing about the other party. Wait, Molek! Sats, who originally thought the name was familiar, suddenly had an impression in his mind. You are the candidate Molek who beat up the examiner in this hunter test, right? The invisible mouth blurted out, and the calm poker face finally changed. Has my reputation spread? Molek commented jokingly, and it sounds like it's all bad reputation. Why would a person like you appear here? Sats couldn't help but ask, just passing by. Then Molek pointed down and said, I heard some noise here, so I came over to see what's going on. It seems that the situation below has also reached a white-hot stage at this moment. After the black silk victual took action, the first shot of the battle had already been fired. The fluttering black cloth strips, which looked very intimidating, seemed to have life and kept moving towards the target. But it's all show and no substance. Molek only took one look and sentenced him to death. The foundation of the mind is too poor, and the activation of the cloth strips is too fancy, and there is no power at all. Not to mention wrapping the enemy and tying him up, it is a blessing to be able to touch him. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the black cloth strips flying towards the eyebrowless man. What a rag! Accompanied by a roar, a stronger thought surged from his iron fist. He took one in each hand and then pulled it hard. Tear! In an instant, the rags were scattered from the sky like a rain of flowers. My fabric strips! Black Silk Vikil was horrified. However, this was not the end. The shattering of the cloth was just a simple omen for him. The next second, a tall figure suddenly flashed beside him. I said, stop making noise. A low voice filled with murderous intent instantly invaded Vikshil's brain. Before he could react, there was a crisp sound of bones breaking and shattering. The body wrapped in black cloth suddenly stiffened and then fell limply to the ground. TSK, I thought the head wrapped in cloth would feel like what would feel like if it was broken. The eyebrowless, vicious man Finks spat. The result is no different from the others. Finks Magicap, the fifth member of the Phantom Troop, is also a combatant of the troop. He is always the first to arrive at the battle site. Sure enough, when it comes to killing, these experts are the ones. On the big tree next to him, Molek carefully observed Finks' every move. The action of breaking the head just now gave him some inspiration for the strength of his hands. Sats on the side quietly distanced himself from Molek. After learning that this man had beaten up the hunter examiner, Sats had already classified him as a dangerous person. After listening to his remarks, he felt that he needed to keep a certain distance from him. And when he moved, he was still below. Whoosh! When Finks just finished off Black Silk, Vikil, the sound of breaking through the air sounded almost immediately. It's not just Xiaojia who sneaked up on Hisoka. This is Gundam, with almost the same super-fast dodging speed. Finks coordinated his body to dodge all the flying hidden weapons one by one. While dodging the attack, he determined the attacking object. It's the enhanced Gundam, Camelot. If you get hit by her telekinetic enhanced Gundam, you'll Sats analyze subconsciously, but when he thought of Molek next to him, he immediately shut up. Boom! The telekinetic Gundam that Finks dodged hit the tree trunk and exploded violently in an instant. The two Gundams that fell to the ground created a large pit on the ground with the Gundam as the center. Hello. Will there be different effects when hitting plants and the ground? Finks became interested. Your ability is quite interesting, but it's just that the technique is a little bit lacking. Crap. Finks crushed the stone next to him casually and threw it towards the opposite side with the same telekinesis. After not knowing what effect the opponent's Gundam would have on a person, he still cautiously chose to shoot from a distance. Although Finks sometimes loses his temper and is a dangerous person who gets angry at every turn, he also has a calm side. The reinforcement system in the Phantom Troop is not the kind of brainless idiots. Fink's handling is correct, but obviously, Finks, who is surrounded and regarded as a big fish in the eyes of others, will not talk to him about the code of conduct. Huh. Finks, who had just thrown the stone, felt a gust of cold wind behind his head and decisively dodged to the side. A shovel with a flashing cold light passed by the place where Finks had just stood. If he was a second later, his head might have been moved. Asshole, staring at the stinking mummy-like guy who suddenly appeared. Fink's eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light. It was Gravedigger, a person with the ability of materialization. The shovel in his hand was very effective in fighting against enemies or digging ruins. Sats didn't say anything, and the information of these people automatically popped up in his mind. You can't hold back. Are you all going to attack me? Fink's head was already bulging with veins, and he could no longer bear it. So he started to move his right arm. As he moved, the soil under his feet suddenly softened, causing his feet to sink slightly and then quickly solidified. After completing this series of actions almost instantly and imprisoning Finks, a short and fat figure emerged from the pit beside him. Loose soil rat, Zardal, a user of the transformation system, can use his own energy to transform the surrounding soil after diving underground. But after implementing the transformation, he must leave the soil and run to the ground. Sats was perfectly explaining in his mind. He also found that his analysis seemed to be really suitable for explanation. Is it just the feet that are trapped? Finks below also noticed the abnormality below. As long as the upper body can move, that's enough. He swung his arm quickly. An amazing mental power instantly gathered in his arm. Let's go together. The relic hunters gradually realized that something was wrong and immediately chose to hold back. Whoosh! Gundams and shovels all came together, and the ground loosened again. However, they were still a step late. Get out of my way! After swinging his shoulders to the maximum force, Finks roared and slammed down hard on the ground. Boom! The ground cracked, gravel flew, and the sky was broken. The rolling gravel storm swept in all directions with Finks as the center. It still has to be Return of the Sky. To read exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Molek gently swayed his body and dodged all the gravel. Finks' Return of the Sky is a standard enhanced telepathic ability. It condenses the energy on the arm. The more the arm rotates, the stronger the punch. However, he doesn't seem to know how to grasp the effect of the number of rotations on the strength. It fits the desperate character of the enhanced system. Beep, beep, beep. Just as he continued to watch Finks prepare to kill everyone, the phone in Molek's arms suddenly rang. He took it out and looked at the number, and he was a little happy. What's wrong? It's rare for you to call me. Ah, those techniques you told me about before. After the call was connected, Jin's vague voice came from the other end of the line. Someone here is very interested in your universal capsule technology. As early as when he saw Molek take out the universal capsule, Jin was keenly aware of the important strategic role of this item, not only in daily life, but also in the upcoming exploration of the Dark Continent. Before the two parted, Jin mentioned that he wanted to find a big shot in the relevant field to do research. Although Molek said that he couldn't trust him in terms of researchability in this area, no one was more professional than the people Jin knew. I will send you some of the technology and the finished capsules later. Huh? Aren't you afraid that I'll keep it for myself? You could try it, Jin. After the two chatted for a while, Molek hung up the phone. Then he saw the wide-eyed expression of Sats next to him. I just chatted with you. Is that Mr. Kim? What, you know him? Molek asked knowingly. Yes, Mr. Jin is my benefactor. Sats nodded solemnly. He was originally a hunter who excavated the ruins for fame, but he felt ashamed after hearing about Jin's achievements. Later, he devoted himself to the protection and restoration of the ruins. He admired Jin's behavior very much, so when he later learned that Xiaojia was Jin's son, he took good care of him. It can be said that he is Jin's little fanboy. Since he is someone who can chat with Mr. Jin, then Sats thought about it and slowly closed the distance between him and Molek. Sure enough, they're all a bunch of garbage. The dust and smoke covered the area, and a mocking voice came from the thick fog, followed by a crack. The throat of Zardal, who had no time to sneak underground, was crushed. Puff, Camelot, who was looking for a cover to hide, was pierced through the chest by a sharp hand knife like a blade. Dingja, Gravedigger Gallus's shovel was crushed directly, and along with the shovel, his skull was also shattered. What a rotten fish and shrimp! The mist dissipated, revealing Fink's unharmed figure. His murderous eyes stared at the other relic hunters nearby, whose faces gradually turned pale. Their expressions changed from mockery and disdain at the beginning to complete horror now. The corpses lying on the ground were all well known among the relic hunters before, but now they all lay on the ground without a single breath of life. Monster! Someone suddenly let out a strange cry and then immediately retreated. This howl seemed to be a horn of retreat, and the many relic hunters who had come together to surround Finks all scrambled to retreat and flee. The ruins can be dug up again, and the burial objects can be found again, but one's life is only one. No one knows whether this vicious guy without eyebrows will drag him down with him before he dies. This is obviously a tough bone to chew, and it is extremely ruthless. It is not worth throwing away one's life for the burial objects of the pharaoh. The relic hunters who realized this made a decisive choice and chose to evacuate. Stop right there. Finks bumped his fists and shouted angrily. However, the louder he shouted, the faster the relic hunters retreated. As for Finks himself, it was like thunder and rain. His voice was loud, but his steps were basically the same as marking time. He was not stupid. Who knew if these relic hunters had other strange telepathic abilities? If he chased them too hastily, it would only cause unnecessary trouble. He should stop while he was ahead. Anyway, his things were not lost. You are a cowardly rat in the gutter. Finks spat again with disdain and adjusted his pharaoh hoodie. Then he looked up and looked in a certain direction on the tree. Are there any rats left? Finks raised his head and looked at the two people standing on the tree next to him. A fierce light flashed in his eyes. Bang! He bumped his fists again, and the murderous aura in his body gathered again. And just when he was ready to strike, "Hey, you're Finks, right?" Suddenly a greeting came from above, causing Finks to pause. Finks stared at the figure that jumped down from the tree. "Do you know me?" "I heard about it from Maki, Featon, and Franklin." Molek said, "I just came out of Meteor Street and met them." Maki? Featon? Franklin? As a reinforcement type, Fink's forehead was gradually filled with question marks. "Do you know them? And you said you came from Meteor Street. So, you're also from Meteor Street?" Asking when you don't understand is their biggest advantage. "Yes, I still have Maki's phone number." Molek nodded and spit out a string of numbers. Finks was silent. Then he was alert, maintaining his aura, and took out his cell phone from his pocket. He pressed Billy twice and looked at it. It's really this number. After checking several times and confirming that everything was correct, he nodded repeatedly. "So, as a member of the brigade, you don't remember your companions' phone numbers, but just save them in your phone?" "Yes, this fits the stereotype of the reinforcement system." And Fink's behavior next can be said to be more vivid. Beep beep click Mashimoshi. "What's up, Finks?" Post views. 536. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 086. Another blind box. A great conversation and a return to the family. Advanced application of concepts. 086. Another blind box. A good chat and a return to the family. Advanced application of concepts. Maki's cold voice came from the other end of the phone. "Hello," Maki. Finks, who always asked the person concerned directly when in doubt, glanced at Molek and then asked into the phone. "There's a guy called Molek. Do you know him?" Maki on the other end of the phone was obviously surprised. "How do you know this name?" "Because he's standing right in front of me," Finks said as a matter of course. "He said he also knows you, Featon, and Franklin." "Well, we just met here on Meteor Street." Maki did not hide this fact. "So what is your current position and situation?" "Enemies." "Not yet." Finks thought about it seriously, then grinned and asked in a suicidal way, "What do you think about me crushing his neck?" "It's up to you," Maki said directly. "But if you die, I won't collect your body." Click. She hung up the phone directly, and Fink's ears were filled with a burst of silence. "It seems that they are not enemies," Finks put away the phone and looked at Molek in a serious manner. How did you get to know Maki and the others? This is a long story. They are in Meteor Street. Just ask them. Molek raised his hand slightly and put away the blue blind box next to Finks. I didn't know there were so many powerful characters in Meteor Street. Finks narrowed his eyes without eyebrows. It seems that it is the right thing for Franklin to bring Shouty from Meteor Street to join. He kept staring at Molek, and his whole body was full of the momentum of eagerness to try. Maki's words just now really aroused his desire to compete with Molek. However, Molek looked at him and suddenly said, "Your pharaoh costume is quite nice." He gave his opinion and evaluation. "It suits you well." "You think so too, right?" Fink's aura disappeared instantly. "Ha ha! I knew I wasn't the only one who thought so." Finks put one hand behind his head, looking particularly happy. Phaeton, that idiot, doesn't understand the benefits of this kind of outfit. Of course, given his height, it's a bit difficult to wear it like this. I also think that no one is more suitable for this outfit than me. Ha ha. Molek's 2 words finally touched his itch, although both parties tacitly maintained a safe distance. Finks still started to chatter about the introduction of how to wear the pharaoh costume. "I tell you, only the pharaoh-level headscarf feels better when worn. The others are not as good in weight or size. As for the cape on my body, only the pharaoh size makes me feel comfortable. The others are too small." Sats, who also stay behind, quietly watched Molek and Finks chatting and getting along. The bodies lying on the ground beside them looked a little out of place. Sats didn't feel anything was wrong with getting along with such a dangerous murderer. He had heard about Jinfulus before, and it seemed that he had a good relationship with a murderer named Liza. Everyone has their own cognition and way of getting along, and Sats doesn't have any moral cleanliness. As a hunter, he is used to this world and is very open-minded about this. "If we meet again in the future, I will learn from you in detail." Fink is left with satisfaction, and before leaving, he did not forget to issue another challenge. He had just fought with a group of people, and he would not be stupid enough to fight with an unknown and mysterious guy again. He and Wajin, who must fight to the end, are 2 types of reinforcement systems. If there is a chance in the future, Molek also waved at him, looking at the blind box in the storage space. He felt even better. "I hope you can bring me a better blind box next time." He muttered to himself and opened it. "Got a medium blind box. Do you want to open it?" "Open successfully. Get Navy 6 styles, paper drawing." Source: One Piece, another Navy 6 styles. Molek estimated that after meeting the members of the Phantom Troop, maybe he could collect all of them. And this time, only one type of blind box came out. Molek had a new guess in his mind. Just like Phaeton and Franklin before, although the 2 of them only appeared in a blind box, they opened 2 skills, which just represented the 2 members of the brigade. It seems that blind boxes sometimes come together and overlap. Maybe even if 2 key characters appear at the same time, only one blind box will appear. However, the level of the blind box and the things inside will be superimposed and upgraded accordingly. For example, when 2 characters in white blind boxes appear together in some occasions, the 2 white blind boxes will be upgraded to a blue blind box. Although there is no clear explanation, Molek thinks this possibility is very high. "Next, Mr. Sats, what do you think?" After sending Finks away, Molek turned around and looked at Sats, who was waiting quietly. Just because all the relic hunters were scared away just now, but Sats followed him, Molek still had a certain good impression of him. "Just cool Sats." Sats glanced at the figures around him who were almost covered in dust and sand and shook his head. "I have dealt with these people before, and I plan to bury them first, then go back and repair the ruins properly." Upon hearing this, Molek couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. As expected of Mr. Sats, this is what a true relic hunter should do. No, I was just inspired by Mr. Jean." The 2 exchanged a few more pleasantries. "If you can meet Mr. King next time," Mr. Molek Sats slowly stretched out his hand towards Molek. "Please tell him that I know." Molek also shook it with a snap. In this world, there is still a hunter who is inspired by him and is doing his job as a relic hunter with all his heart and soul. He smiled at Sats and said, "If there is a chance, I can arrange a meeting between you 2. "Thank you so much." After parting with Sats, Molek returned without any setbacks. When he returned to the Nasra family on the airship, he found that none of the familiar faces in the family were there. Only Skavara was left, huddled in the garden, playing with his dog. "You're back, Captain." After discovering that Molek had entered the house, Skavara quickly put down the dog food in his hand and got up from the ground. "Why are you the only one here?" Molek looked around the yard. It seemed that the yard had been expanded a lot during his absence. At least the original small villa had been replaced by a more luxurious and magnificent villa. It can be seen that the Nasra family has developed very well in the past few months. What about the others? He walked in the newly renovated, more lush lawn garden. "The boss is out discussing business." Skavara stopped the dog next to him from baring its teeth and immediately responded. "Recently, with the help of the lady's prediction, the boss has developed more and more customers, and the scale is getting bigger and bigger. He has been busy outside recently and rarely comes back here. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. In order to ensure that there are enough people there and that they are safe, in addition to the Zoni, the boss also brought Yiwa Lianfu over. Well, especially with the help of Jean, the Nasra family has now entered a stage of rapid development. Light Nasra is also tired and happy, busy all the time. As for the young lady, she heard that a new ruin was excavated near the city of Orbach, and it was said that the body of a pharaoh was excavated inside. The young lady passed by under the protection of Hua, Shur Dolang, and Siaki Mano Duchino. When Skuvara said this, there was a hint of bitterness in his words. Nyan brought her maids with her on this trip, including her girlfriend, Arisa. He wanted to go with them, but the boss asked him, a guard who could control dogs, to stay behind to look after the house. So Skavara is a qualified guard dog, right? And it seems that the boss trusts his guarding ability and is very satisfied with his guarding work, and has entrusted him with important tasks in this regard. Skavara really wants to thank him. Orbach. Molek paused. He felt that the name of the city sounded familiar, and the new ruins, the body of the pharaoh, adding all these together, the sense of deja vu seems to be getting stronger and stronger. I heard that it is very close to an abandoned gathering place called Meteor Street, and it is a surrounding city. Skavara nodded, and then he was a little scared. I heard that after the ruins were excavated, thugs destroyed them and stole valuable items, such as the pharaoh's crown and clothes. And it seems that he went on a killing spree, killing several relic hunters. If the Hunter Association hadn't intervened in this matter, and if Orbach hadn't been a major base of our upper family, the Leeds family, otherwise the boss wouldn't let the lady go there. Speaking of this, Skavara was still a little scared and relieved. After hearing about the incident in that city, he felt that it was a good thing that he didn't go there, and it was quite safe. But when he thought of Arisa being there, he couldn't help but worry. Molek, no wonder he felt such a strong sense of deja vu. It turned out to be the place he just came back from. Given Nyan's strange hobby of collecting human organs, it is not difficult to understand why she rushed there as soon as she learned about this. There is no one at home, so I can take this time to have a good rest. Molek stretched himself and muttered to himself, "You can try to use the turtle school to develop some hidden techniques of other martial arts schools. The most classic one is the Crane School in Dragon Ball, which is almost as famous as the Turtle School. Although Crane Master is not a very good person, it must be said that his martial arts attainments are really good, especially the most classic and practical techniques. Air Dance the Sky Dance technique is mainly to control the to achieve flight. The practitioner must first be calm and free of distractions, and then concentrate and guide the ki in the body to achieve suspension and movement. Specifically, the practitioner needs to keep the body relaxed, concentrate the ki, and release it slowly and moderately so that he can float. Once he can freely control the release of ki, he can further learn how to change the direction of the ki and thus control the direction of his movement. For example, by allocating different proportions of ki to control the left and right movement of the body. In short, it is about the use of ki. After greeting the old housekeeper Karaba, Molek also walked into new luxury villa. I remember that in this hunter world, if you use the flow of ki properly, you can also stay in the air for a short time. For example, in the Greed Island chapter, when Zetzazela jumped up, a large amount of air gathered at his feet, causing his jumping ability to increase greatly. And he also stayed in the air for a short time. It seems that the idea is correct. We just need to add more verification. And Molek stretched out a finger and raised it, with numbers constantly changing on it. I have no problem with the basic training of ninability, but the use of high-level techniques can be integrated with the martial arts of Turtle School. For example, the perception of ki is exactly the same as circle, but both have their own advantages and disadvantages. Both sense the position and movement of the opponent, and once the opponent blocks his breath, using Ju and Yin, you will not be able to know the opponent's situation. For example, if you unfold the circle, as long as the opponent is within the range of your circle, even if the breath is blocked, his every move can be known. However, circle can only be within its own range. And the perception of ki is that even if you're thousands of miles away, you could detect your existence and location. One is good at close range, and the other is mainly long range. If the two are combined, there will be no shortcomings. If you open it with this idea, other advanced combinations of telekinesis, such as Jian, hard especially this trip, and the contact with Bahala, Jin, and others, also gave Molek more ideas. There's still some time before next year's hunter test. Enough. Do it when you want to do it. After taking a short rest in his room, Molek immediately threw himself into training. In this way, the entire Dabi wilderness regained its tranquility again, except for the dogs of Skawara who patrolled very seriously and responsibly every day. There were no other incidents. Time flies, and the days passed quickly. There is no time for cultivation, and no years for the end of winter. The turmoil in Orbach gradually subsided. After part of the pharaoh's body was auctioned and part was sent to the museum, there was no more attention. Only a group of relic hunters headed by Sats were left, working diligently to repair the crumbling ruins. And Sats's behavior also won the praise of the Hunter Association, and it is planned to invite him to serve as the chief examiner of a round of the Hunter Association next year. Also paying attention to the Hunter Association is the gourmet hunter Bahala. With his extremely novel cooking method, twice-cooked pork mapo tofu and other exotic spicy dishes have attracted widespread attention in the food industry. They have also been included in the category of hunter test examiners by the Hunter Association. This time, the Hunter Association has made every effort to reverse the negative impact of last year. Make sure that there will be no mistakes this year. With such enthusiasm and mobilization, time passed slowly and it was 1999 again. The day of the new hunter test is coming. Thank you for the 1,000 points reward from VBoss. Thank you very much for your support and kindness. I am very ashamed. I'm going to the 4S shop to repair my car tomorrow, so the update may be a little late, but I will definitely not be absent. Post views. 504 starred opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 087. Molek and Nyan, the hunter test begins. 087 Molek and Nyan, the hunter test begins. The climate of the European continent is different from other continents. Even in the winter of January, it is still warm as spring. Especially the address chosen by Light Nasla is suitable and comfortable. Behind the luxurious villa, in a newly built training room. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of fists hitting flesh continued to ring, and finally ended with the falling of figures. The fight is almost over here. Sia Kimono Dochino, who was standing next to him, hurriedly stopped him and took back his almost broken 11 under the roof, feeling a little distressed. It still doesn't work? Hua Shidalang in the middle of the field shook his head slightly. This level of 11-man double teaming was not even a warm-up for him now. Unconsciously, his eyes subconsciously looked at Molek, who was sitting there and observing his movements and state. Then he quickly threw away some unrealistic ideas in his mind. He always felt that his captain's strength seemed to have improved incredibly. At least, he felt that he was more and more unfathomable. You are in very good condition now. After Hua Dolang came over, Molek nodded slightly and made a positive comment. It seems that he is ready for the next battle with Hisoka. Hua Dolang's face is calm. I have waited for 2 years just for that moment. He has never forgotten the shame of losing to Hisoka 2 years ago, and now After this period of hard training, his ability of mind has made great progress. According to the agreement with Hisoka on the stage, Hwasher Dolong has already gone to the Sky Arena. After conveying the information to Hisoka through the official organization, he began to adjust his state, prepared to avenge the previous shame with Hisoka in this Sky Arena. You have made up your mind. I won't say much. Molek patted his shoulder and said, I will be there to cheer you on when the time comes. Thank you, Captain. Hua Shidalang nodded heavily. He made up his mind to follow Molek here to improve his strength. Now, Hua Shidalang is grateful for how wise his choice was. He is also grateful to the man in front of him for everything he has now. He called him Captain sincerely and wholeheartedly. I heard that you're going to participate in this year's hunter test, right, Captain? Hua Shidalang took the towel from Sia Kimono Dochino and wiped the sweat off his face while asking, well, I have nothing to do, so I might as well try it again this year. Molek said it very easily, but he has been waiting for this year for a long time. In this hunter test, the main storyline will be officially entered, and the blind box that will appear is something that Molek has been looking forward to for a long time. This year's hunter test, the Hunter Association shouldn't have that kind of stupid examiner again, right? Siakamono Dochino also came over to join the fun. Last year, when I heard that you, the captain, beat up the examiner, I was really shocked. As long as the association is not stupid, they should know what to do this time. Molek wanted to say that you overestimated the guys in the Hunter Association. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a capricious and neurotic examiner in the second round of tests. If Netero hadn't had experience and arrived at the scene in time, the situation might have continued to get worse. It can only be said that they never learn from the lessons of the cause, but instead work hard on subsequent compensation and loss prevention. But Captain, if you want to take the hunter test, Miss Hua Shidalang reminded, in 2 days, a nearby city will hold a Schultz auction. It's the same as before. You and Shachimono Dochino can go with her. Malik said casually, if you can't get away, let Rinsen go for you. Rinsen is a new member of the guard team recruited by Light Nasra. He is thin, with a pale face and a sickly look. He looks very ordinary and unremarkable. Indeed, he himself has no sense of existence in the original work. Even if Light Nasra hadn't recruited him, Malik almost forgot that such a person existed. But later, after Kurapika took control of the Nasra family, he was able to become Kurapika's right-hand man. It is enough to show that he still has some skills. Not to mention, he is also a professional hunter who has passed the hunter test and voted in the president election. Basic literacy is still no problem, but the lady specifically asked you, the captain, to accompany her. Hua Shidalang was a little hesitant. He had been taking care of Nyan for 2 years and understood her personality. If Molek didn't go, she might cry and make a scene again. It doesn't matter. I'll bring her some gifts when I come back and coax her well. Molek waved his hand. Besides, there's Arisa to comfort her, so it's not a big problem. Don't you think, Skavara? Skavara, who had been silent, nodded numbly. Anyway, he would be left at the villa to look after the house, and he was used to it. He still remembered that not long after Molek came back, Nyan, who had photographed part of the pharaoh's body, returned home happily. But after hearing that Molek was back, she pouted immediately. It must be said that their captain Molek was the one who could coax the little girl. I don't know where he got it from. It is said to be the best of the 10 old men, the organs and teeth of the famous combat unit, Een Beast. And he exaggerated so much that not only did Nyan's pouting mouth turn down, but also her eyes were full of stars. Later, Molek told the eldest lady some follow-up stories, such as taking away the pharaoh's clothes and fighting against the relic hunters. Nyan was also very fascinated by what he heard, and before she knew it, she leaned against Molek again. Anyway, in Skuvara's view, these were just stories to coax children, and they were not taken seriously at all. As for the relationship between the eldest lady and the captain, I am just a doorman. What right do I have to speak? Hua Shidalang is Molek's younger brother, and Siakamono Dochino has wisely stood on Molek's side. He is a bodyguard who guards the house with a dog. If he can't see the situation inside, he won't be stupid enough to report to the boss. Skawara will not forget that although his strength is still shabby, it is much better than before. Who is it thanks to? So, Molek and Nines getting along in a room has become a kind of thing that everyone in the big villa knows. But on the surface, it is all self-evident. Even the old housekeeper Kaharaba is already very old, so he is unwilling to find trouble for himself. Especially after Molek found Bahara and arranged a very easy and comfortable job in the food industry for his grandson. Mainly a safe and serious job away from the gangs. He decisively turned a blind eye to everything. As for whether the boss knows about this matter, it is not something that everyone knows. All right, I'll go talk to the young lady later. Hua Shidalang sighed. He had already anticipated the crying scene at that time. You have all worked so hard for everything. Molek looked at the people present and chuckled again. Leave it to us, Captain. Hua Shidalang and others responded solemnly in unison. While Molek was preparing to set off, in a dilapidated small building, it's time to go. The tall man in a suit and small round sunglasses took a last look at the empty, narrow room. He pushed his glasses, put all the doctor's books and basic medicines in his briefcase, picked it up, and left without any regrets. Just wait, Pied. I will realize my dream of becoming a doctor. Getting a hunter's license and exempting the medical school tuition is the first step to realize our dream. He raised his head and chest, and there was nothing else in his eyes, only the awareness and belief of risking his life and everything and moving forward. In an unknown forest on the other side. Once, this place was famous for discovering the destruction of the Kuruda tribe. But now, it has become desolate and dilapidated. At the entrance of the forest, a handsome boy with blonde hair, whose gender is difficult to distinguish, knelt at the entrance and whispered softly. The sun is in the sky, the trees are green on the ground. Our bodies are born from the earth. Our souls come from the sky. The sun and the moon shine on our limbs. The green earth nourishes our bodies. We give our bodies to the wind that blows across the earth. We thank God for the miracles and the land of the Kuruda tribe. The earring on her left ear swayed gently in the wind, and her orange-blue clothes swayed with it. May our hearts be safe forever. I wish to share joy with all my compatriots. I wish to share their sorrows. Please always praise the people of the Kuruda tribe. Let us bear witness with our red eyes. After reciting the last prayer, the boy's eyes suddenly opened. A pair of scarlet eyes, breathtakingly beautiful and incomparable. They're also the only pair of eyes in the world that are full of emotions in their eye sockets. I'm leaving, the elders, Dad, Mom, and Piro. The blond boy slowly stood up and bowed deeply towards the entrance of the forest again. Then he turned around and resolutely embarked on the journey of revenge. The desolate back of the lone man and the heavy national hatred he carried made his body look particularly small at this moment. On the other side, in the big city, which formed a sharp contrast with the lonely and desolate forest, the neon lights were bright and dazzling. Young men and women in fashionable clothes were laughing and enjoying their nightlife. However, they did not notice the short figure who walked past them silently. Hunter test. The boy stopped at the window selling home appliances and looked at the hunter license advertised on the TV screen. It seems like there's nowhere to go for now. He had run away from home, not knowing what to do next, but now he seemed to have found a goal. To read the exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Let's go there and have some fun. His silver hair was particularly dazzling under the flickering lights. As he was taking action, in a player's room in the Sky Arena, it seems that I have one more reason to participate in this hunter test. Listening to the crazy and neurotic voice of his mother coming from the phone, Ilmi tilted his head slightly. It just so happens that my next commission also requires a hunter's license. Let's finish both things at once. After saying that, he looked at the person sitting on the bed next to him, holding a letter of notice, and had been looking at it for 10 minutes without moving. What do you say? Are you going this year? Yes, of course I have to go. Putting down Hua Dolang's letter of challenge, Shi Suo slowly raised his head. The corners of his mouth had already drawn a huge arc unconsciously. It is really unexpected that the fruits planted in the past will all mature in about the same period of time. It seems that this year is really a harvest season. Hisoka goes crazy there every day, and Ilmi has become accustomed to this kind of daily routine, but this is not what he cares about. This year, will the man named Molek come too? Yes, he will come. When this name was mentioned, Hisoka's body began to tremble again. It was the kind of excitement that reached the critical point, with the body shaking uncontrollably. He promised me that he would come this year. Is that so? Ilmi also put his index finger on his chin. Then it seems I have to take some precautions. This man has his own secrets, and last year he beat up the examiner. If he gets angry again this year, maybe I will get hurt too. Including you, Hisoka. Illumi looked at Hisoka and kindly reminded him, "Do you need my help? The price is very fair." Swish! Before he could finish his words, 2 playing cards flew past him. He is my prey. In the gap where Illumi's severed hair fell, Hisoka's extremely perverted and aggressive gaze was revealed. No one is allowed to take it away. In another dense forest in the wilderness, someone who has a similar understanding to Hisoka, this year's hunter test, you wait for me. In the silent night, a roar came from the jungle. Clang! The sound of the machete falling to the ground was particularly harsh. Molek, this time, I will avenge my previous humiliation and tear you into pieces with my own hands. Under the moonlight, the hideous scars and marks on the man's face were revealed. Just rely on the 4-sword style skills that I have mastered in the past 6 months. The familiar hunter's appearance that has not changed reveals that he has not forgotten the shame of that year. Wait for me, Molek. In this hunter test, I will get rid of you. A low roar full of hatred roared in the mountains and dense forests. The hatred of the beating that year was irreconcilable and unforgettable. And on the distant whale island, the fishing float that had been silent in the middle of the lake finally moved, attracting the attention of the hedgehog-headed boy who had been fishing on the treetop for a long time. Then splash, the fishing float and the fishing line suddenly sank into the lake, carrying a huge force, as if to overturn everything. However, the boy sitting on the tree showed an extremely happy and innocent smile. I caught it. With a joyful shout, he exerted force on his hands and pulled his 2 thin arms behind him. In an instant, a fish with several strange lower limbs and a hideous face was pulled out of the lake by the hedgehog-headed boy. Success! I caught the Swamp King. I can take the hunter test. A heartfelt smile resounded through the sky, and the joy was shared by most of the animals in the forest. Led by the Forest King, Jitai Foxbear, they all shouted congratulations. With those howls, the hunter test for 1999 officially kicked off. The Hunter Association's headquarters building, it's about to start again this year. In the president's office, Mr. Netero looked at the registration information form that he had specially asked to be handed over. Looking at the familiar names and information on it, he stroked his pointed beard and smiled particularly happily. Let me see how much progress you have made in a year. I have already arrived at the Forest store. I am writing this chapter in the store. The other chapter may be late. Please forgive me. Post views, 495, starred opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 088. See the red blind box again. Molek in the Mitt Bar. God Among Gods, 088, see the red blind box again. Molek in the Mitt Bar. God Among Gods. Netero was looking forward to Molek's return, but some people were reluctant to see such a thug in a suit again. What should I do? That devil will definitely come back this year. Hiding in his own residence, the square-nosed rookie killer was in great distress this year. His intuition could tell that the murderer this year would definitely come back. So, should I participate in this year's hunter test? Should I keep breaking my record and continue to participate regardless of the danger? Or should I just get through this session and wait until the next one? As a veteran who has participated in hunter tests for more than 30 years, I feel that this time I have encountered the biggest decision in my life. On the other side, in the wooden house under the huge redwood tree at the top of Dolii Port, the fierce fox family sat around the table. Dad, will Molek come this year? The fox son asked while crunching a carrot. He said he would come. The fierce fox father said firmly. Before he entered the examination room last year, he asked me to lead the way for him again. Is that so? That's great. These carrots taste terrible, not even close to the ones Molek gave us last time. Do you think Molek will bring carrots this time? Well, from Port Door to the desolate village among the great fir trees, it's another new hunter test, quick questions, and Answer's grandma sat in the rocking chair, her body swaying gently. I wonder what kind of newcomers will emerge in this year's hunter test, and whether they will be as good as the young man last year. The breeze blew, allowing her to hide the only 2 teeth left exposed, and she fell into memories. At a certain departure port of the Hunter Association, a ship that had sailed for decades was ready to set sail after maintenance. Once again, we are ready to sail. Old friend, the drunken red-nosed captain carefully cleaned the last trace of water stains on the deck. Get ready for this year's brats. Maybe there will be old guys next year. The red-nosed captain seemed to have thought of something, and he tightened the bottle of wine in his arms. He also showed an expectant smile on his face. Guys, let's go. Oh. Under the captain's command, the Poseidon once again set sail, braving the wind and waves to the first gathering point for picking up candidates who signed up for the hunter test. The horn of the 287 hunter test has already sounded. Whale Island is the familiar check-in point again. When Molek stepped into this island again, he had an unusual feeling. So you went to Whale Island after all? Jin's extremely dissatisfied mood came from Molek's phone. Even though Molek couldn't see his expression at the moment, he knew that Jin should be staring at him with a pair of dead fish eyes at the moment. Of course, I believe in getting up from where I fell. Molek smiled and responded, It is also my good virtues and advantages that have always allowed me to go further. Jin, if he wasn't afraid that Molek would do something extreme on Whale Island, the word bullshit would have been stuck in Jin's mouth. Jin wasn't afraid of ruining his deployment or something like that, but he was afraid that Molek would secretly find Xiaojia and tell him about some of his arrangements in advance. He would be very embarrassed and ashamed. In order to save his reputation as a father, Jin could only suppress this shame in his heart. The analysis and development of a universal capsule has achieved certain results, and it is expected that it will be officially put into experiment and use in a while. Jin coughed twice, kindly, reminding others that there is such an achievement. Would you like to try the semi-finished product you have developed first? That's not necessary. The finished product in my hand is still good, and it's not the point of using a semi-finished product, Molek replied lightly. After he returned to the Nostra family last year, he passed on one of the rarely used universal capsules and the technology to Jin through a special channel. Jin has many ways to receive things, so Molek naturally doesn't need to worry about this. And during this period of time, there have been certain scientific research results, even if the technology itself exists. From nothing to a semi-finished product for experiment. Such scientific researchability is already terrifying. Also, I say it again, I am not interested in research at all, and the technology of universal capsule was not developed by me. So if you still want to talk to me about technology, just reject it. And then, before Jin wanted to say anything else, Molek directly rejected it. Well, during this period of time, the people who studied universal capsule have been looking for Molek, who brought out this technology, to study and discuss it. And for such a research madman, Molek naturally declined. But Molek interrupted Jin again. Also, I'm already at the MIT bar, ready to have a drink before taking the hunter test. Do you think I should drink a few more glasses and have a good chat with this beautiful proprietress? Or should I not drink a single sip and just talk about our past stories? I think you should just concentrate on participating in the hunter test. Jin on the other end of the phone was unusually decisive. You are very busy here and cannot leave. I will decline all invitations for scientific research. Click. After saying that, Jin hung up the phone immediately without waiting for Molek to continue. It felt like he was running away in disgrace. Molek put away the phone, raised his eyes, and saw the door of the bar in front of him. Mitt, the proprietress, hugged the hedgehog-headed boy tightly, and then really let go of this child as her own, and let him follow in his father's footsteps. Take care. I will become an excellent hunter and will definitely come back. With a wave of his hand, the hedgehog-headed boy disappeared into the distance. After he was completely out of sight, Mitt stared at the scene in front of him, sighed, and turned back to the bar. It's really the starting point of all the stories, being able to witness this scene with his own eyes. Molek also sighed a little, but more of it was joy. Sure enough, I've caught up with it. This is the moment to start the journey. Molek looked at the red blind box that was about to disappear on the spot, emitting a dazzling luster, and walked straight forward and quickly put it away. Only when this fate line starts to work will there be a blind box of this level. Having gained this just after arriving at Whale Island, it also made him more determined to take the correct action of participating in this hunter test. Got a high-level blind box. Do you want to open it? Turn on. Open successfully. Get 4-star Dragon Ball. Source World. Dragon Ball. This doesn't need too much introduction. Gather 7 Dragon Balls, and you can summon the dragon to fulfill any wish, including but not limited to resurrecting the dead, conquering the world, etc. This kind of causal ability is the most bug. And mainly, this 4-star Dragon Ball is also the beginning of the storyline of Dragon Ball. It is also the fundamental and direct reason for Goku and Bulma to meet and then unfold that series of stories. After putting away the 4-star Dragon Ball, Molek stepped forward and pushed open the door of Mit's bar. Ding! The bell of the arrival of the guests rang, and Mit, who was still sat at the bar, sorted out his emotions a little and wiped his eyes. Welcome. She quickly adjusted herself back to her normal state of receiving guests, stood up and greeted them. Would you like something to drink? Let's have a cup of thorns. Molek pulled open a chair and sat at the bar, scanning the surroundings. The bar was very clean and tidy, with a faint warm smell. As the only bar on the island, Mit had kept it well organized. Thorns, Mit muttered the name and then shook his head. Excuse me, sir, is this the wine from outside? We are just a small place, and I have never heard of the name of this wine. It's okay, it's very simple. I tell you to do it. Molek casually put a gold coin on the table. Take 45 to 60 milliliters of gin, then add 20 milliliters of lemon juice and 20 milliliters of sugar syrup. Mit took a look at the gold coins, then quickly took out a pen and paper and wrote down Molek's request. The customer is God, and the customer who can pay the bill with the gold coins without saying anything is God among gods. Fill the cup with crushed ice and shake quickly for 8 to 10 seconds. To read exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. Molek explained the process step by step, and Mit also took notes while carefully practicing. If he could learn a new way to mix drinks, the pub's business might be better. This is the Thorn. Wine you ordered, please enjoy after some actual operation. Mit brought this glass of new wine with bright black and red colors to Molek. This is my first time making it, so please forgive me if there are any shortcomings. It's nothing, just the appearance is already very good. Molek took a sip from the wine glass and nodded. And it tastes even better. Thank you for your recognition. Mit still thanked politely. This cup of wine is called Thorns. Does it have any special meaning? Mit asked casually while arranging the wine utensils and looking at the black and red color. It doesn't match the green color of the thorns at all. Well, no matter how difficult or hard it is, no matter what dangers you face, you can get through it. Molek picked up the wine glass and said with a smile, "This glass of wine is for those who go out to explore the world, and I wish them the best." Mit paused in his action of tidying up the wine utensils. "I saw it all outside just now." Molek took another sip of wine. "Is he your son?" "Zero, please give me flower. Zero, no, it's my nephew." Mit was silent for a moment and told the truth. "I see. They are not parents and children, but they are better than parents and children." Molek nodded. Looking at his preparations, will he also take part in the hunter test this year? Also, Mit raised his head and looked at Molek's outfit seriously. He was wearing a standard black suit, which looked like the dress of a social elite. "That's right. I'm also a candidate for the hunter test this year." Molek understood the meaning in Mit's eyes and said with a smile. Looking at Mit's instantly alert and vigilant eyes, he drank the wine in the glass in one gulp. "Don't get me wrong, I just came to see this kid. His head shape is exactly like his father's dad." Mit, who was originally alert, was suddenly stunned. "What do you mean?" "It's nothing, I'm just stating my personal opinion." Molek waved his hand gently. "I have no interest in intervening or knowing too much about the complicated relationship between you two, and I won't do anything boring to that child. I just happened to pass by here and wanted to take a look. Just by chance?" Mit opened her mouth, with many questions in her mind. As a result, her eyes blurred, and the next second, Molek's figure disappeared from his original seat. Dingling, the doorbell of the bar rang again, and Molek had already opened the door. "Oh, there's one more thing." He turned around and looked at the empty cup. "Thorns, this cup of wine, which represents going out to explore and overcome obstacles, actually mainly represents the father's dedication to his children, teaching them the spirit of not fearing difficulties and the courage to move forward. If you have a chance in the future, you can mix it for someone who needs it. Your bartending skills are very good. I hope I can taste such wine again next time." "Wait!" Mitt had just shouted when the door of the bar slammed shut. Mitt quickly ran out from the bar and opened the door. What he saw was an empty scene with no one in sight. "Thorn, father, who is he?" Mitt murmured. She felt that the shock she suffered today was a bit too great. Whether it was Xiaojia's departure or the arrival of this man, her emotions fluctuated so much that her heart could not bear it. "Let's just close the shop for now." She hung the sign on the door and went back to calm her heart. The arrival of the man in the black suit certainly made her mood fluctuate, but she felt vaguely that this man didn't seem to have any ill intentions. "I hope Xiaojia will be fine in this hunter test." She was talking to herself. He was approached by someone, and everything he said was related to Jean. He must know Jean. Jean, that guy, is an out-and-out trouble bastard. He was sure that this was related to Jean, and because it involved Xiaojia, Mitt was furious and couldn't help but start to criticize Jean. Ichu. In a ruined jungle thousands of miles away, Jean, who was sitting on one of the heads of a giant two-headed wolf, sneezed hard. He rubbed his nose and asked in self-aware confusion, "Strange, is someone talking about me behind my back again?" After having a drink at Mitt Bar, Molek felt that he was in a good state. He immediately put his mind at ease and came to the town at the port. It was not strange to come here again, and the folk customs here are still so simple. Catch the thief. The fisherman on the street wailed and ran out to chase the thief. At this time, his stall was empty and someone's stomach was empty. It happened that he had spent all his money and was hungry. A guy with round glasses and a briefcase stole a bunch of fish and ran away quickly under the gaze of the hedgehog-headed child and the blond and handsome boy. Then, after he made a fire and ate the grilled fish, his briefcase was stolen again as karma came true. As expected, the people are so simple and honest. Molek nodded again after watching all these scenes. Then the town was in a great commotion due to the many rare and exotic animals released from the exhibition group. There were poisonous snakes with 3 heads, a little B, and little C, as well as giant frogs that particularly liked rainy days, rotating turtles that could not stop once they started spinning, and the king of the forest, the fox bear. In short, the place was particularly lively during the break in the Poseidon, which was about to sail. At the same time, 2 other blind boxes with red luster were also looming in the port. The 3 protagonists also gathered together, ready to board the ship and officially start the next journey. Post views 521 start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 089. Long time no see. It turns out that he was a candidate who took the Hunter test last year. 089 long time no see. It turns out that he was a candidate who took the Hunter test last year. Seagulls flew across the sky, and the Poseidon blew its whistle and headed for the final port of Door. Whoosh! In midair, accompanied by a beautiful parabola, 2 figures, one large and one small, fell from the sky one after another. Landed safely, the hedgehog-haired boy in green clothes squatted on one knee handsomely, with a sunny smile on his face, and completely put away the fishing rod above his head. Bang! The man with round glasses and a briefcase next to him didn't master his balance and fell flat on his face. "Are you okay, uncle?" "Don't call me uncle. Call me Leorio." "Oh, okay, my name is Jeffries. Leorio, you could just call me Jack." These 2 main characters who boarded the ship last finally caught up with the last ship. It seems that there will be no dull moments before we reach the end of this year. The red-nosed captain witnessed this scene and took 2 puffs of his pipe to refresh himself. But then again, I don't think I saw him. He led a group of sailors around, trying to find the person he wanted to see. Then he saw a figure in a corner of the deck, smiling and waving at him. "Are they coming after all?" The red-nosed captain grinned, his pipe almost unable to be put down. I knew this man would never let go of the Hunter test, which was like a lively meeting for him. The captain pressed down the brim of his hat and continued to stroll on the deck. How could this lawless man miss such an interesting event as the Hunter test? I wonder what interesting things he will do this year. It's really exciting. There was no rush to reminisce about the past. Once he had finished the initial screening of applicants, he would have time to sit down and have a good chat. He continued to look around the deck. How many people can survive this year's 237? Looking at the people who were seasick and vomiting, and the people who were hunting seagulls with knives for fun, I couldn't help but shake my head. They were all a bunch of spineless guys. Compared with Molek last year, they were not even a little bit worse. You get off the boat. The drunken red-nosed captain used his authority to have the sailors throw those useless guys into the sea one by one. He then gave them a life buoy. With their level, participating in the Hunter test would be nothing more than sending themselves to death. We are passengers. Lurio, who was leaning against the mast, was mumbling quietly, while Karapika, who was sitting on the other side, was also watching the scene coldly. As for Gon, he turned a deaf ear to everything and sat at the stern, concentrating on fishing with his fishing rod in hand. Get a high-level blind box. Do you want to open it? Molek on the side watched this scene with peace of mind, and he took the red blind box that was faintly visible at the port and was brought aboard with Karapika and Leorio, and opened it. Successfully opened, obtained 2-star Dragon Ball, 5-star Dragon Ball. Source World, Dragon Ball. As expected, the starting lineup of the protagonist group still gave Dragon Balls. And these 2 Dragon Balls were also found by Bulma herself before teaming up with Goku. Then the 2 of them started their journey with 3 Dragon Balls. Everything was right, but it shouldn't be just that. Molek held his chin with one hand and quietly watched the scene between the 2 people in front of him. On this ship, there is also a classic deck duel between 2 people, and then the plot of enemies becoming friends in the storm. If there is no blind box, it would be unreasonable. You still have to follow the protagonist group of destiny to get more high-level blind boxes. Now, I suddenly understand the feelings of Hisoka and Biscuit. Seeing the delicious green fruits and flawless, dazzling raw stones, the excitement and joy. Am I not also coveting those unknown blind boxes like Xiaojia and the others? If Hisoka is a fruit farmer, and Biscuit is an absentee, then I am a pure gambler who opens blind boxes. However, my act of opening blind boxes only needs to be found, but there is no need to pay any other costs. The deck seemed much quieter after Captain Winegrog read, "Nose cleared a group of people." It was not until Xiaojia at the stern caught a rare flying fish that it became lively again. However, in this bustle, Molek got up, stretched his back, and walked into the cabin. The annual storm used to test the degree of applicants at this time is coming. He does not have the habit of getting wet in the rain. Outside Molek's return did not attract anyone's attention, but Xiaojia's performance attracted some people's attention. The storm is coming. Xiaojia shrugged his nose and gave his judgment. The wind was a little warm and had a strong smell of salt. In addition, the seagulls were paying attention. At first, some people laughed at Xiaojia for knowing bird language, but the captain seemed to have figured out something and asked seriously, "Boy, did you get on the boat from Whale Island? What does your father do?" "He is a hunter. Although I have only seen his photo, I respect him very much." "Really? Is your father a hunter too?" In Xiaojia's back, he saw the familiar figure of the person who impressed him deeply. "Boy, do you know when and how big the storm will arrive?" "Depending on the seagulls and wind conditions. After 2 hours." "Oh, you are the 3rd person who can give such an accurate answer to tell me that there is a storm." "The 3rd one. Fold the sails." The captain did not answer Xiaojia's question, but called to the crew directly. The sailors on the Poseidon were already familiar with it, and they quickly folded the sails. They had done that uniform action countless times. Just as they took action, the sky was immediately covered with dark clouds, just as everyone else was about to enter the cabin to hide. Wow! A flash of lightning cut through the dark night sky, as if it was a sign of danger. The main mast of the Poseidon seemed to be coated with fluorescent agent and began to emit pink and purple light particles. Suddenly, it looked like a strange flame was ignited, burning the entire ship. Such a scene made the entire deck agitated with fear. This is St. Elmo's fire. In order to calm the anxiety in everyone's hearts, The captain stood up and explained, "There's been a legend since ancient times that anyone who sees the St. Elmo's fire will become a person who will never return. Applicants on the ship, you'd better not say it. What is St. Elmo's fire?" Xiao Jie never hides his curiosity. This is a luminous phenomenon caused by static electrons in the air or charged rain clouds affecting the electrons on the mainsail. The blonde and handsome boy at the side came forward and kindly gave an explanation. He also showed his erudition, which made the captain take a closer look. "Is it just a phenomenon?" "That's nothing big." Everyone on the deck was slightly relieved, but the captain continued to wave his hand. "The storm is coming." Why is there such a legend? It is because every time this phenomenon occurs, there will be a huge storm. There were many sailboats on the sea. So many of them sank to the bottom of the sea. After hearing this, the applicants on the deck did not dare to delay any longer and hurriedly ran into the cabin. However, when they walked into the cabin, someone was already sitting there. The other applicants did not take it seriously and found empty seats to sit down. Gon and Liu Rio, who came in later, and the handsome blonde boy, actually looked over there. If they remembered correctly, the man in the black suit should have walked in earlier, but as the ship began to shake and bump, the few people did not pay much attention and found their own place to stay. Instead, Gon looked at Molek and then at Liu Rio. To read the exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. Liu Rio, "Oh, what's wrong? I think the suit that guy is wearing looks better than yours." "You don't have to say anything." Hurrah! There was a violent storm outside. The wind was howling, and huge waves were sweeping across the sky, intending to drive the Poseidon, which was galloping across the sea, into the bottom of the sea. In the cabin, the captain sang an unknown ballad and manipulated the rudder at will, avoiding the waves accurately and quickly. Like a swimming dragon, he shuttled across the sea. Only after he sailed out of the turbulent sea did the captain hand over the rudder to his deputy. "Well, let's go see how the guys are doing this year." When the drunken, red-nosed captain walked into the cabin, smoking a pipe, he saw a crooked figure lying on the ground. "Stop kidding. These useless guys actually want to pass the hunter's test?" The captain shook his head repeatedly, not praising the level of these guys at all. There are still a few good ones. His eyes flashed over the three people, Xiaojie, who was very energetic and gave water to the people next to him, Liu Rio, who was holding an apple and chewing it, and the handsome blonde man with his eyes closed. As for Molek, who was sitting casually in the back, there was no need to consider him. 4 people, the captain made a decision in his heart, and then, just like in the original version, he took the 4 people to a separate small room. "Want to know our names?" Liorio's eyebrows were raised first. "My name is Xiaojie, Karapika." Xiaojie was the first to respond, and the handsome blonde man next to him also said his name. After seeing that both of them said their names, Liu Rio also pulled the corner of his mouth and said, "My name is Liu Rio." "Is that Gon, Karapika, and Liu Rio?" The captain nodded. "Then why do you want to become hunters?" "Hey, why should we tell you?" Liu Rio felt that the captain was too nosy and was a little unhappy. "This is not an interview." The captain was unmoved. "Don't worry about anything else. Just answer quickly. What? I want to know what kind of job this is because my dad does this job." "Don't interrupt me. Can't you see I'm talking to this old man?" Liu Rio turned around and scolded Xiaojie in a gentle tone, which was in sharp contrast to his attitude towards the captain. "Just giving reasons. What does it matter? I don't want to say it. I will never say it." Liu Rio has his own insistence and reasons. "Because if I don't want to do something, I won't do it even if I have to duel." "I feel the same way as you, Liu Rio." At this time, the blonde man next to him, Karapika, also spoke. His name made Liu Rio even more unhappy. "Hey, how old are you? Don't call me by my name casually." Karapika ignored him and said, "Although lying can easily avoid annoying questions, I think lying and robbery are the most shameless behaviors in the world." Liu Rio, who was ignored again, began to get angry and said, "Call me Mr. Liu Rio now." Karapika, who saw Liu Rio stealing fish before, didn't like him at all and just stared at the captain. "Besides, my reason for becoming a hunter is very personal. Why should I tell you this person whom I just met for the first time? Call me Mr. Liu Rio." Mr. Liu Rio, Karapika glanced at Leo's theory and remained silent again. "Anyone who doesn't answer, get off the boat immediately," said the drunken red-nosed captain in a deep voice. "Huh? Don't you understand? The hunter test has begun." The captain took out a certificate from his pocket and said, "From the moment you board the ship." "Is that the Hunter Association's ID?" The Hunter Association's logo was so obvious that the three of them recognized it at a glance. As you know, there are as many people who want to become hunters as the stars in the sky. If we test all of them, we won't have enough manpower or time, so we will help to select them. Captain Red Nose explained seriously. "Whether it is the people who fell off the ship or the people who fell on the ground over there, we have already reported to the committee that they are unqualified. Even if they arrive at the test venue, they will not be able to participate in the test." At this point, the captain raised his mouth and said, "Whether you can participate in the real test depends on my mood. So, just answer my question. Is that so?" After listening to this, Leorio couldn't help but sigh. "There's nothing I can do but answer." But before that, Leorio suddenly changed the subject and pointed to someone who had been watching the scene quietly without saying anything. "Why can this guy not answer any questions, and you didn't ask him any questions at all?" Such a 0.9 difference in treatment made him point at Molek and question the captain. Are you talking about him?" The captain didn't expect that there was such a brave guy. He questioned Molek and said in a matter-of-fact tone, adding a little subtlety, "Because he told me last year." Leorio was startled when he heard this. Karapika raised his eyebrows, and Xiaojia simply raised his hand. "What does this mean?" "What I mean is that I have already taken this ship last year." Before the captain could speak, Molek spoke first. "Long time no see, Captain." Although it's only been a year, it feels like a long time." The captain smacked his tasteless lips and then saw Molek took out a bottle of wine and threw it to him. He immediately took it carefully with a smile on his face. But reunion and goodbye are always joyful, aren't they? "If you want to come again next year, I can give you a ride." "That's fine. I'm not interested in taking the third test." Molek shook his head. He didn't drink much, but he still had a lot of stock of Hokage wine. "Really? That's a pity." The captain was very happy, but also a little regretful. "And put away the Hokage wine. What a pity. It will be hard to meet you again. You feel bad that you can never drink this wine again, right?" "Ha ha, you figured it out." The two chatted as if no one was around, leaving the other three in a daze. It turns out that he was a candidate who had already taken the hunter test last year. Thanks to Qianshan Mushiwe and Zhangxiang Shuiquick for the 588 points reward. Thank you very much. Post views 497 starred opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 090. It's still a red blind box. Digital alloy of time. You will definitely get your comeuppance. Absolutely. 090, still a red blind box. Digital alloy of time. You will definitely get your comeuppance. Absolutely. Xiao Jia, who heard this from the two people's conversation, looked at Molek curiously. To be able to take the hunter test again, he must have had some experience, right? It was his first time taking the hunter test, and he felt everything was so new. It turned out to be an old student who was taking the test for the second time. Leorio also reacted and muttered, and he has such a good relationship with the captain. He sent him many bars last year. He made a narrow guess. This is not something that can be solved by sending wine. Karapika has a different view. Able to survive and get out of extremely difficult and dangerous tests, and then continue to participate in the hunter test, he made an accurate analysis and gave his own judgment. This man is definitely not an ordinary person. The reason why he can have such a good relationship with the captain, the examiner of the Hunter Association, who sent the applicants to the exam, and can chat with them so well, is not just because of the wine. Leorio also reacted quickly, mainly because the captain's optimistic and appreciative attitude was simply obvious. Although this is my second time here, I still have to abide by the rules. Molek clapped his hands. My name is Molek, and I am taking the hunter test for the second time. What is your purpose for taking this test? I told the captain last year, and I still have the same reason this year. Last year, he said he was curious about the hunter test process, so he wanted to see what kind of questions the hunter test would have. And this year, he also said he was not interested in taking the third test, which means it seems that I won't be able to see you next year. The captain understood. He knew that Molek was going to get the hunter's license this year. As for whether he could do it, if even the examiner beats up a person who can't get a hunter license, then this test is really dark. Same reason as last year. Leorio curled his lips secretly. It made no difference whether he said it or not. However, he was not interested in other people's reasons. I want to be a hunter because I'm a survivor of the Korda tribe. Karapika interrupted directly, causing Leorio's anger to soar again. 03 Hey, I'm talking. I want to be a hunter, a bounty hunter who makes a living by earning bounties. Karapika ignored him again and said directly, "What's the reason?" the captain asked as he put away the wine. 4 years ago, all my compatriots were killed by the murder troop, the Phantom Troop, and I was trying to catch them. Do you want to become a hunter? The captain expressed his understanding. The Phantom Troop is full of ill-level bounty criminals. Even experienced hunters will not easily take action. He kindly reminded, "You will only die in vain if you do this. I am not afraid of death." Karapika's attitude was very firm. "I'm only afraid that I will forget this angry feeling." Ah, what a willful fellow. Leorio couldn't help but sneer. You don't have to become a hunter to take revenge, right? This is the stupidest question in the world. There are many places that only hunters can go, information that can be collected, and activities that can be carried out. Leorio. Why don't you call him Mr. Leorio? When Leorio was angry, the captain was very respectful and said, "So, Mr. Leorio, what is your motive?" "Me?" Leorio felt a little relieved when the captain called him that. "I don't intend to tell you a false answer, so let me tell you what's in my heart." Leorio began to show a lewd smile on his face. "It's money." He acted extremely greedy. Becoming a hunter can make a lot of money. As long as you have money, you can buy anything. Big house, nice car, fine wine, even women. He stretched his hands upward like claws and fell into a beautiful fantasy. Xiaoji blinked and looked at him. He didn't know why, but he always felt, what real reason is he hiding at this time? Molek's voice sounded in his ears. Xiao Jie couldn't help but look back at Molek. "Mr. Molek, are you saying just call me Molek?" Molek didn't care about this. This shouldn't be the main reason for him to take the hunter test. Although he looked at Leorio's expression and said, this is also one of his purposes. It's true, but not the whole story. Molek understood Leorio's true situation, but Karapika, because of his preconceived notion of stealing fish, couldn't help but pour cold water on Leorio again. Money can't buy humanity. Leorio took a deep breath. This is the third time. He looked at Karapika expressionlessly. "Get out. It seems that the guys from the Korda clan with dirty blood are all rude guys." Karapika's expression also changed. "Take back what you said just now, Leorio." "It's Mr. Leorio." Leorio emphasized, "Get out." I couldn't ask for more. After saying that, the two of them didn't care what others thought and walked out of the cabin one after another. Hey, I haven't finished talking yet. It was the first time that Captain Red Nose encountered such a thing, and he was a little confused. Let them be. Xiaoji didn't think it was a big deal. If you want to get to know someone, you have to first know what that person dislikes. This is what Aunt Mit taught me, and it is my favorite saying. Xiao Jie said his life experience. In my opinion, they are angry because those are very important things to them, so it is best not to stop them. Xiaoji and I have the same opinion on this matter. Molek came over and slapped Xiaoji on the head. How should we face and deal with people who disrespect us and make us angry? And how to make a choice in this hunter test environment? Molek rubbed Xiaoji's head and said with a smile, let them solve it themselves. This is also part of the test. Mainly in his sight, as the two left, the blind box that emerged with it, emitting a brilliant light, was also looming. Is that so? The captain smacked his pipe and thought it made sense. It seems that the candidates who registered this year are all troublesome guys. He put his hands behind his back and walked out of the house slowly. Molek, you are right. Xiao Jie scratched his cheek. It would be better if you didn't touch my head. Well, Xiao Jie is still the sunny and optimistic type, and he's the most suitable to be teased. I'm also curious. Molek continued to rub Xiaojie's head. Why are you angry? This feels really good. Me? Xiaojie thought about it seriously, and then showed a harmless and cheerful smile. I don't know either. You don't know either. That is, once you know it, you will become evil. Well, in the literal sense. Shall we go and see it together? Molek suggested. Let's go and see the duel between the two of them. Okay. Xiaojia readily agreed. It would be great if he could get to know the people who would be taking the test together. Moreover, he and Liurio had already known each other before boarding the ship. In his heart, Liurio was already a good person and companion. The waves were raging, the waves were roaring, and the storm poured down on the deck of the Poseidon, which was riding the wind and waves on the sea. Liurio and Kurapika were not affected by the storm at all, and they only had each other in their eyes. To read the violent novels, go to Falu Novel Network. I take back what I said now. I can still forgive you, Liurio. You should take it back, Kurapika. I won't give in at all. Also, call me Mr. Liurio. The two of them chose to fight directly. With a clang, the two swords were unsheathed, the daggers were unsealed, and the two of them almost jumped into the air at the same time and fought hand to hand. As soon as they fought, they realized that the other was extraordinary. Good skills, you too. Liurio originally thought that Kurapika was just a sissy who knew how to dress up, and Kurapika also thought that Liurio was a smart thief. But this time, the collision of the fight made them all know that the other party was not a common guy like the others. During the fight between the two, Xiaojia was watching carefully at the side. Molek also watched some of the fighting skills of the two. On the one hand, it was the national fighting method taught by the Kuruta tribe since childhood, and on the other hand, it was the wild fighting system that he had explored since childhood. It could be said that each has its own merits, but with Molek's observation ability, if there is no accident, if the two really want to duel to the end, the winner is most likely Kurapika. It's not that Liurio's fighting ability is too poor, but mainly in terms of brain, he is not as good as Kurapika. If nothing unexpected happened, an accident would happen in the next second. A sailor who wanted to repair the main ship's railing accidentally stepped on empty space and was blown off the deck by the storm. Save me. He cried out for help, and Xiaojia was the first to jump out and catch him. Gone! Liurio and Kurapika jumped out at the same time. They each grabbed one of Gon's feet and successfully pulled Gon and the sailor back. Xiaojia, why are you so reckless? Liurio scolded, but actually asked with concern, it's really messy. Kurapika agrees with this. If we don't catch you, you will become sawdust in the sea too. But Xiaojia put his hands behind his head with an optimistic smile on his face. Didn't you catch me? Hearing this, both of them lost their temper. Xiaojia, who acted as a lubricant, said naively, then what about your duel? Duel, it seems to be the case. Liurio turned his head away. He no longer had the desire to continue fighting. The same was true for Kurapika. After the fight just now and the act of saving Gon, he also changed his opinion of Liurio. I apologize for what happened just now, Mr. Liurio. You don't have to be so polite. Liurio was a little embarrassed. Call me Liurio. Kurapika, I also want to apologize to you. I take back everything I said about the Kuruta tribe. The atmosphere at the scene became more relaxed, and the storm in the sky gradually subsided. The dark clouds began to slowly dissipate, revealing the sun behind the clouds. It seems that you won't be so lonely this year. The captain, who had seen the whole scene, took a puff of his pipe and said to Molek next to him with a smile, yes, they are all very good juniors. Molek nodded, and then looked at the blind box that had been condensed, with a slight arc at the corner of his mouth. The condensed red blind box is also quite good. Get a high-level blind box. Do you want to open it? Molek put the blind box away and then opened it, immediately successfully opened. Obtained 1 copy of Time Digimon. Source World, Digimon. Digimon stuff? The action scenes between the two protagonists Liurio and Kurapika seem to be in Digimon as well. When fighting against Puppetmon, one of the 4 Dark Lords, Taichi and Awa, fought. And their 2 Digimon, Battle Greymon and Metal Garurumon. 343, the Digimon of Time, is made of the armor that Battle Greymon wears. And the subspecies of Metal Garurumon, Moon Garurumon, is also made of a golden alloy armor that can rebound attacks. Digital Time alloy, made from Huanglong, or usually has extremely high hardness. Due to different production ratios, There are different colors of digital time alloy, and the same performance is also very different. Its official name is Digital Time Metal Hybrid Organic Alloy, which can be abbreviated as CHO alloy. This super metal can be integrated with living things and turned into living metal. Therefore, in addition to being used as a material for weapons and armor, it can also be used in the parts of transformed and mechanical Digimon. And such a material is also the most suitable for making equipment in the hands of Molek. As for weapons, he doesn't need too much. The firearms collector and the long weapon, Rui stick, are all considered artifacts among artifacts. You can use this alloy to make a protective gear. Molek adjusted his black suit. Although the suit was good to wear and looked good, the quality of the suit would not be good if you were to fight with some powerful masters. And if it can be used to enhance the flow and power of ki, that would be even better. Molek had many ideas in his mind, and the ability of this weapon to increase the strength of the mind and the flow of ki is, well, when you are in doubt, just look for someone with great connections. Molek took out his phone, typed a text message, and sent it over. I found a very good alloy material. Can you help me find someone to make a suitable suit? He sent his request along with it. Almost the next second, he received a reply on his phone. Go to hell, bastard. The blonde sent a text message back with a middle finger emoji attached. Xiaojia is by my side now. Molek quickly replied. I can touch his head and reply to your message at the same time. This time, the reply was faster than the last time. You will definitely be punished. Absolutely. Jean cursed and took on the task again. Jean was indeed quite curious about what Molek said, which even he thought was good. So, after the duel between the two sides ended, the relationship between the three people was officially established. The captain also held a pipe in his mouth and announced with a smile that all the people had passed the preliminary test this time. Next, I will send you to Port Dolii. Amid the cheers of Xiaojia and the relief of Liurio, after the captain's words, the Poseidon accelerated on the already calm sea. Soon, the outline of the island in the distance was seen. The next assessment location for the Hunter test was Post Views. 544 starred opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 091. Old and new. Molek's experience. Don't be surprised 091 old students and newcomers. Molek's experience. Don't be surprised, it was still the familiar port location. The four people who were the only qualified for this voyage disembarked one after another. Then I saw the port location where many applicants from other places gathered. There are so many people. Liurio carried his briefcase in one hand and looked at the crowd in front of him. He almost made Zhou's expression. I guess their purpose is the same as ours. Ah, are they the participants of the Hunter test who came from all over the world? Looking at those guys who are dressed well and look like they are not easy to mess with, you can tell why they came here. The location of the Hunter test this time seems to be in Saba City. So where's the bus to Saba City? Liurio looked around and asked. I think you should follow someone with experience instead of searching by yourself. Kurapika made a pertinent suggestion. The candidates who have successfully reached the official Hunter test venue in the past have a high chance of success if they search again. Someone with experience? Has he successfully reached there before? Thinking of these two factors, Liurio turned his head subconsciously and happened to look behind him together with Kurapika. Captain, thank you so much. Xiaojia thanked the captain solemnly with a sunny smile on his face. Let me have a happy journey. Really? You feel happy on such a journey? Haha. Xiaojia also made the captain laugh. It was really a relief to be able to feel happy on such a dangerous journey. They are indeed a father and son. Although we have successfully arrived at Dolii port, there is still a long way to go. Yes, I know. At the captain's warning, Shao Jie nodded seriously. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I also want to thank you for your care during the journey. Seeing this, Liurio was also moved by the scene, and before leaving, he also expressed his gratitude to the captain. This is just my job. The captain smiled and put his pipe back in his mouth. My job is over here, and it's up to you guys from now on. There will be other tests later. Although I think you can definitely pass them with your qualifications, it is better to listen to the advice of those who have experienced it. The captain raised his pipe towards Molek next to him. The advice of those who have experienced it is very valuable and pertinent. That's not necessarily true, Molek joked. The location and method of hunter testing changes every year. Who knows if the mother-in-law and the family on this island are still here? Don't worry, there are no major surprises for our guides, and their positions will basically remain unchanged. This is also to allow old students like you who are returning to participate to save the process of retesting your qualifications in advance. Those guys are still living peacefully there. After saying this, the captain said hello to Molek and said goodbye again. And in the future, there may be no time to meet again. Hey, 3 outstanding new guys. You don't know what kind of person the person traveling with you will be. When the captain and everyone else boarded the ship, he turned around to take a last look at the group of 4 and laughed in a low voice. That will be fun, right? I hope you won't be shocked when you arrive at the official venue, little ones. Take care, everyone. At the port, Xiaojia waved his arms, bidding farewell to the Poseidon, which was getting farther and farther away until it disappeared at the end of the sea. So, where are we going next, Mr. Morak? Karapika asked politely, especially regarding the seniority of the hunter test. This person is already considered their predecessor. The other party's experience in the hunter test will definitely be very helpful for their next journey. I told you, just call me Molek. Molek pointed to the huge redwood tree at the top. See that huge redwood tree on the mountain? Going that way is the shortcut to the official test site. But Leorio repeatedly stared at the huge map erected at the port. The location of Saba City shown on the map is in the exact opposite direction of the giant redwood tree. Besides, Saba should be a big city, not in the mountains and jungles. Leorio hesitated a little. And it's also marked here, the bus to Saba City. Should we head to the giant redwood tree or take the bus? The express bus to Saba City is about to leave. Suddenly, a voice came from behind everyone. A guy with short yellow hair, a big nose, and half eyelids appeared behind everyone. He pointed in another direction. The bus stop is over there. Leorio was very wary of the guy who suddenly appeared. Who are you? My name is Matthew, and like you, I am a candidate for the hunter test. He introduced himself. With an uncomfortable smile on his face, he said, Please give me your guidance. My name is Xiaojia. He stretched out his hand to say hello, but only Xiaojia shook hands with him. Leorio rolled his eyes and said, Mr. Matthew, are you going by bus too? Sorry, I hate taking the bus, and I've already decided to go to the cedar tree on the top of the mountain. Matthew politely refused. Then why don't you go with us? Karapika was silent, but Xiaojia's eyes lit up. That's a coincidence. Matthew stretched out his tone in a slightly exaggerated tone. I'm looking for a companion to share the same fate with. Why don't we go together, Xiaojia? Xiaojia was about to nod his head in agreement. Then, someone next to him made the decision for him. Get lost. Molek didn't say much, but just calmly looked at the man who appeared in front of him and wanted to take advantage of the extras in their exploration. Such an impolite attitude made Matthew stunned. What did you say? He felt as if he hadn't heard clearly. I said, get out. Molek repeated calmly. Matthew was instantly furious. Stop being so arrogant. You bastard. He immediately reached for the handle of the knife behind him, trying to pull it out. But then a hand grabbed his wrist. It seems that we don't welcome you here, Mr. Matthew. Leorio, who had never let down his guard and alert, decisively took action and stopped him from drawing his sword. Matthew tried to pull it out a few times, but found that he couldn't pull it out at all. Cut. He suddenly stepped back, and Leorio let go in time to let him jump to the side. Matthew, with drooping eyelids, first looked at Molek, then at Leorio, with an extremely ugly expression. In the end, he secretly hated and immediately ran away from here, running towards the direction of the huge redwood tree. It seems that guy is not a good person. As early as when Molek said the first word go, Leorio was ready. He had been on the ship for such a long time, but he had never seen Molek be so rude to anyone. So when he saw Molek's attitude towards Matthew, Leorio knew that there must be something wrong with this guy. But even that guy is heading towards the giant redwood tree, so that should be the right place. Karapika, who had been silent, also started to analyze again. Well, I also plan to follow what Molek said. The novel was taken from the Rala's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Shao Jia naturally has no other questions. Molek said so. There must be a reason for it. Since you all said so, seeing that the two were so determined, coupled with Matthew's behavior, Leorio's thoughts were shaken. Let's go to the redwood tree first. He made a decision and let out a breath. But why does this map show this route? Leorio still couldn't forget this map. When I came here last year, the location marked on the map was not Saba, but Lalfa. Molek glanced at the map and couldn't help laughing. But I know Lalfa is not in that location. The city of Ralph? Well, that's where I took the official test last year. Kurapika understood immediately. So, the direction of this map is wrong. Such a large map is wrong. Leorio was a little unbelievable. It's placed so clearly at the port of Dolii Port. There's no Hunter Association logo on it. Hearing this, Jia also carefully looked at the signs on the map. To read the exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. On Whale Island, the map shows the logo of our Whale Island, but there seems to be nothing on it. At this point, it couldn't be more obvious. Isn't this a blatant deception? After learning that he was almost deceived, Leorio was somewhat relieved, but also quite unhappy. Why is there such a map here? I think it's to screen candidates, right? Kurapika thought, just like on the Poseidon, this is also a test for us. After all, apart from candidates like us who are taking the Hunter test, no one else will go to Saba City. Another test. Leorio's eyes twitched, and he understood it in his heart. The purpose of this test should be not to believe all kinds of information easily, but to learn to distinguish and find the right way out. However, he still refused to admit defeat and said stubbornly, "Really, they always come up with some weird and embarrassing questions." He seemed to have thought of something and looked at Molek again and asked doubtfully, "So if Saba is a big city, why do we have to go to that redwood tree? Maybe it's the guide the captain just mentioned?" Kurapika was smart enough to remember the key words just now. According to the literal meaning, it means that we should go to the giant redwood tree and find the person who will lead us to the real venue. That's right, Malik praised Kurapika's wit. Candidates must rely on the little information they get to find the venue, which is also a test for candidates. In order to reduce the number of candidates, the Hunter Association set up various traps along the way, explained Molek. The venue is different every year and is set in a place that is difficult to find. Without the help of a guide, it is difficult for candidates to reach the venue. Candidates must first find a guide and have them confirm their abilities before they can reach the venue. So, Xiaojia nodded in understanding and immediately became full of energy. Then let's go. The group no longer had any objections and set out on the journey to find the guide. But what kind of guides are there? While walking on the road, Leorio started to think crookedly. He approached Molek, looked around, and made sure there was no one else, then asked in a low voice, "Can you tell us what kind of guys they are and what the test is about?" Kurapika pricked up his ears when he heard this, and Xiaojia followed suit with an inquiring look. "What? Do you want to cheat?" Molek asked with interest. "How can this be considered cheating? This is called collecting information in advance and preparing well." Leorio found an excuse and then cheered up. So, if I tell you, what benefit can you give me?" Molek rubbed two fingers together. "This is very important information related to passing the Hunter test." Leorio, well, he had always made others pay the price before. Now it's his turn. "But I don't have much money," Leorio said with some money shortage. "I know this." Xiaojia raised his hand. "Leorio has no money to eat, so he went to steal the fish from other bosses." "Yes, I can testify to this." Kurapika nodded in agreement. "I saw it too." Leorio, "I thank you for explaining it so clearly. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't have money now." Molek showed a meaningful smile. "After you pass the Hunter test and get your Hunter license, we can sit down and talk about this. Do you want to get a Hunter's license?" "No problem." Leorio agreed decisively. If he could really get a Hunter's license, it would be a sure win no matter what. "I accept it too." Xiaojia also raised his hand. Kurapika thought about it for a moment and felt that intelligence was more important, especially what the captain said before he left. that he should consult more experienced people. He always felt that this sentence seemed to have some deep meaning. Seeing that everyone agreed, Molek no longer concealed it. On the road ahead, good, you will pass through a small town. The examiner in the town is an old lady with only 2 teeth. She would ask us questions, and as long as we answered correctly, she would let us go. Leorio couldn't wait to ask. So what kind of question did she ask you last year? If your mother and father both fall into the water, and you can only save one, Molek said casually. One mother, two father, which one will you save? Leorio had a black question mark on his face. What kind of a question is this? There is no correct answer to this kind of question. While Gon was still thinking, the calmer Karapika asked, So how did you respond? Molek, you arrived at the official hunter test venue last year, and you should have passed by answering the questions correctly, right? That's right. Leorio, who was about to get mad, immediately reacted. What's the correct answer? Ishuzan. Molek said truthfully one. Karapika was startled to think that there might be other interpretations of such a test question. Why? Because I don't like the number 2? So I chose 1. Molek said as a matter of course. So 1 is the correct answer. Leorio couldn't believe it. Certainly not yes. Molek stretched out his tone a little, causing Leorio to hold back the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Since 1 is wrong, it can't be 2, right? He muttered. It shouldn't be right. Karapika frowned and thought for a moment. What did that old lady examiner say? She let me pass. Leorio, thanks to Mr. Jiang Ziyufeng for the 588-point reward. I am also waiting for the 1,000-point reward from you online. I can't thank you enough. There's more to come. I will continue to write and thank you. Post views, 473. Start opening unlimited blind boxes from Hunter x Hunter Chapter 092. Continue the red blind box. Goodbye quick question and answer mother-in-law. You're here again, Molek. 092 continue with the red blind box. Goodbye. Quick question and answer mother-in-law. You're here again, Molek. You were allowed to pass with the wrong answer. Leorio looked confused. He felt that he had more questions today than in the past year. Of course, except for the questions in the medical books. She just told me to go, but she didn't tell me that the way I went was the right way. So I took a long detour and finally got to the place. Molek continued. I always feel that it is not as simple as Molek said. Since 1 and 2 are not correct answers, Leorio couldn't figure it out. Are there any other answers? Maybe there is. Molek said casually. But even if the answer is wrong, we can still reach our destination normally. I took that wrong road last year, and now I'm familiar with it. While Leorio choked, but thought about it again, it really made sense. Even if the answer was wrong, they would not be eliminated, and they would just take a more troublesome road. Anyway, with Morak, they would be able to reach their destination in the end. If they calculated it this way, they would not lose out. Thinking of this, Leorio felt much more relaxed. Karapika also thought about it. There was no problem, and then nodded slightly. As for Gon, it still doesn't work? I just can't think of the answer. Shao Jie suddenly raised his head, distressed and unable to give an answer. Why are you still thinking about this? Leorio, who had calmed down, couldn't help but tease. You don't have to think about it anymore. Why? Anyway, we can all reach the final destination, so any answer is fine. Having said that, Leorio still bumped his fists and said, Really? How could there be such a question? When we get to the official hunter test venue, I will definitely have a good chat with the person in charge. What is the point of asking such stupid questions? I know, Shao Jie said seriously. But what if you really encounter a situation where you can only save one relative? Karapika and Leorio were both startled, and then the smiles on their faces disappeared. This is indeed a very serious question. Being able to ask such a question, the old lady should know the answer, right? Shao Jie seemed to have thought of something and knocked his fist lightly on his palm. When we get there, let's go ask her. Leorio and Karapika. The two of them looked a little strange. It was the examiner who was supposed to ask the examinee questions, but it was Xiao Jie who was supposed to do the opposite. However, 533, if Gon had asked this question with his personality, it might have a very good effect. Karapika and Leorio looked at each other and nodded in tacit understanding. In this way, The four of them walked forward. Along the way, they also saw a lot of footprints and messy traces on the road. According to Gon, there should be beasts such as rhinos living nearby, and this is their territory. Maybe someone came here before them, and the rhinos thought that their territory was invaded. This made Karapika and Leorio think of Matthew, who wanted to talk to them at the port just now. It seems that it is not a bad thing that someone is one step ahead of them. Soon, in front of the four people, a dilapidated town that looked old and desolate appeared. Is this where the old lady examiner is? Leorio looked around. Well, this place is called Heartbeat 2 Choice Town. Molek looked around and shook his head. It's the same as last year. Not much has changed. In other words, the old lady in front is the examiner. Xiao Jie has good eyesight and saw at a glance that the old lady with a cane and a short man with colorful hair wearing a loose white robe and a mask were blocking the middle of the road. In front of them was Matthew, who had just run over. However, looking at the scars on his body and the heavy breathing, it was obvious that he had not had a smooth journey. If your mother and lover are both captured by bad guys, and you can only save one, mother, two, lover, who would you choose to save? Quick question and answer. The mother-in-law still fulfilled her duties and asked this question. Sure enough, this is another question that has no standard answer. The people who follow behind also heard the question. Even though he knew it would be like this, Leorio still couldn't help but complain. You have 5 seconds to choose your answer. 5. For I choose 1. Matthew took a deep breath and decisively chose 1. At the same time, he did not forget to look at the people behind him with hatred. It was because of these guys that he could not follow along and could not use them as stepping stones, causing him to be chased by the rhino for such a long time. Why did you choose this answer? Quick question, quick answer, the mother-in-law asked without changing her expression. Of course, it's because there is only one mother, but you can find another lover.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.